All right. And we're here today on plaintiff's motion requesting temporary custody of the party's minor child, currently age 1, parenting time order, child support, and request for psychological evaluation. Counsel, if you'd like to proceed, and Ms. Nix, you'll get a full opportunity to respond once counsel's done, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. This was a custody action that was filed on July 6th. These are the unmarried parents. They have one minor child, Brooklyn, like you indicated. She was one in May of this year. And these parties had a relationship in 2016. It terminated on or about 2019. They got back together in 2020. And Ms. Nix moved back in with Mr. Fisher at that time. She got pregnant, according to Mr. Fisher. That's when everything really started to go downhill. Things got bad and worse and never really got better. The pregnancy apparently was problematic, and Miss Nix was very ill throughout the pregnancy, but apparently a few months before, approximately 2 months before, Brooklyn was actually born, and she was born 2 months early. So in around March of 2023, she got really continued to get sick, but ended up in the hospital. And they ended up doing an emergency C-section, and it turned out that she actually had a parasite. So anyway, then afterwards, things just got worse. The parties didn't get along. They were still living together. They continued to live together, even though it wasn't working. And then in March of 2023 is when things really went off the hook, was when Miss Nix left the home. She has two other minor children, not with Mr. Fisher, but she shares 50-50 custody. So those children were also there 50% of the time and lived in Mr. Fisher's home as well for the week on, week off that they had. And at that time, there were other instances. He'd come home from work. And she'd be upset, crying, saying she doesn't want to be a mom anymore. She doesn't want to live anymore. She wants to die. And then in March, she left notes and pieces of jewelry on the children's doors and Mr. Fisher's door, and then disappeared. Everybody was frantic. Her family, his family, her children, her ex, looking everywhere, couldn't find her. And then the next day she appeared, and it was never talked about. Nothing was ever talked about. Nothing was ever done, which apparently that's kind of the way this relationship goes, and actually her other relationships, because it wasn't talked about with anyone. So then they began in their fighting, talking about separation. And then what happened is Mr. Fisher retained counsel, started the proceedings. Miss Nix went to Oakland County and got a PPO there. And those PPOs clearly state that you can't, they take precedent over any parenting time issues, any parenting time that anybody's afforded. So what happened is Mr. Nix hired counsel to terminate the PPO, and we had to keep adjourning the motion in the beginning because this PPO was out there. And so that ultimately, the hearing was finally held on August 15th in Oakland County, at which time that PPO was terminated. And we had, like I said, we had adjourned this motion a number of times, and then Ms. Nix had contacted me a couple of times regarding adjourning subsequent. And I did do that and asked her that, could we possibly talk about this, get them in.
Because I'm just going to have you take a brief pause. I'm sorry. Ms. Nix, does the individual behind you know that she's in the bathroom and she's on camera?
Who are you talking about? There's
a lady in the bathroom doing her makeup or whatever in the mirror. I was just going to say, I don't know if she wants to be on camera.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, counsel. I'm sorry to interrupt, counsel. I just didn't think that individual wanted us to see her in the bathroom.
Sorry about that.
Okay. All right.
So, but it's become very disconcerting. There's been no contact. Ms. Nix has withheld the child, hid the child. During this time, Mr. Fisher hasn't even been able to go to his home in the beginning because of this PPO, and it's his home, not theirs. But and the police were called like every week. It was a constant drama and conflict between these parties. But even, for example, when they'd be there with the police, he'd say, can I, just to see the baby, besides from across the street or anything. And she has been unwilling and uncooperative in allowing any kind of time. Actually, she's made it very clear, saying she doesn't want him to be part of her life. She doesn't want him in the child's life. She doesn't think that he should have any parenting time. But yet, right after the PPO was terminated, she called him and said, let's try to work this out. Now, you have to understand, from his position, he's been living in fear for the last 3 months of being arrested, being called on. All of this has been going on. And so he told her, I'll be happy to sit down and talk. Let's call my lawyer, or if you have a lawyer. And I know that she hasn't put it on her paperwork, but an attorney has been helping her prepare her documents and things like that, and her answers. She actually consulted with a lawyer who contacted me last week sometime. So she has had the opportunity to discuss with attorneys. She has a relative who's a lawyer, but she's been
okay. So what is Mr. Fisher requesting today?
At this point in time, first and foremost, I think that psychological evaluations, if we could refer them to Dr. Beckley, and he is requesting at this point in time to be able to get a handle on what's going on with Brooklyn. He would like to have her every weekend, Friday to Monday. It's my understanding Miss Nix is not working.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, during all of this time, Mr. Fisher would go to work and leave the baby with Miss Nix during the day when he was at work, correct?
Yes, he would be. He lives close, so he was home, and he would come home regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, while he was allowed to be in his house, he was home all the time. Yeah.
And Miss Nix, I just want to make sure you appeared at the hearing in front of Judge Gann on August 15th, and that PPO was rescinded at that time.
Yeah, it was terminated only due to the fact that I didn't have legal representation. Mr. Fisher did violate, he did send me a letter in which the PPO stated
okay, but the PPO, my point is that Judge Gann rescinded that PPO,
no, the visiting judge did, but there was one in place. It doesn't mean that there shouldn't still be one. It's just I didn't.
Okay. I'm not debating the allegations that I know you're going to tell me about, but just as a procedural thing, procedurally, there's no PPO anymore.
Not currently, no.
Okay. All right. And so, ma'am, this is your opportunity to tell me your position of what you think parenting time in custody should be and what's been happening. And I did review a great deal of the packet you dropped off with the court, which was your answer.
And you did receive the flash drive too. It's orange.
I do not have a flash drive. No.
So I
just have a big pile of documents.
Okay. So I did submit the USB flash drive. You probably can't see this, but the clerk had me fill this out. It just had more documents, more of like a timeline. There were some videos and recordings on there as well. I want to respond, or at least touch base on some of the things that Mr. Fisher's attorney mentioned. She mentioned that the relationship went downhill after I became pregnant, and that is true. The reason being is because Mr. Fisher did not want to have a child. So he wanted me to abort the pregnancy, and I refused to abort it. So naturally, that huge disagreement, that life-changing disagreement, did make all of the abuse and all of the toxicity worsen. As far as needing psych evaluation and counseling, I am already in the process of taking those steps. I'm working with case management. I was first seen in Macomb County Mental Health Services at the end of June or July, and then continuing with New Oakland Macomb counseling services. I was in counseling. I believe I started in September. That ended in the end of January. I couldn't financially afford it anymore, and Donald said that it wasn't helping me, and he essentially demanded that I quit, as well as couples counseling with Donald's that I paid for. From the time of December to March, I called shelters, domestic violence shelters, 3 times a day on every single shift, just essentially begging someone to help me. I have 2 older children, as Mr. Fisher's attorney mentioned. I have a son who's 15 and a daughter who's 12. Both ages are extremely hard to get into shelters, let alone having a boy that old. So I ended up staying. I have a medical document from Brooklyn's primary doctor stating what she visually saw on me, which was bruises. And exactly what I just told you, that I didn't want to abandon my older children or them to have any resentment. So I ended up just staying in the house, in which was our home, but my name was not allowed to be on the home. I put in just as much work as Donald to get that home. So she mentioned multiple police calls and, them coming out to the home. That is true. In fact, friend of the court actually called the police one of the times because they themselves were in fear for my safety. He came home on his lunch break and just wouldn't let me leave. Saw I was on the phone, kind of following me around. So they ended up calling him. He ended up taking my keys that day, and I couldn't leave the home with Brooklyn. I actually have only met with a lawyer on Wednesday of last week, and actually no legal aid or attorney will take my case because of the complexity in it. I do want to make you aware that it's not that I don't want him to have a relationship with our daughter, or that I'm keeping Brooklyn from him in any way. He's just not participated in her life at all. He has made her an option and not a priority. It was always, if he had time, he would do something. She does have serious medical issues. I do want to make you aware of that before any judgment is made.
And what are those?
Yeah, so she's 15 months. Some of her diagnosed issues are, she is severely gross motor delay. She's not walking yet. So we start physical therapy and occupational therapy this week. It'll be 2 to 3 times a week. She was recently diagnosed with a condition called EOE. It affects your esophagus, just not acid reflux, your entire esophagus, which is why she was throwing up and not able to tolerate any of her food and choking on it. She's also being evaluated for, the EOE was found during an endoscopy. Again, I pushed for that test because I knew something was wrong with her, and I was right. She is gluten and dairy free. She's being treated for celiac. Let's see here. We are under the care of a neurologist, an allergist, a GI, and frequent visits to the primary doctor. She had a seizure on August 17th, in which the PPO was terminated on August 15th. And I did make contact with Mr. Fisher. I thought that was maybe the universe's way of saying, like, let our bygones be bygones. I've been in this bad situation before and have been able to co-parent with my older children's father. I have police records of that as well. I would love Brooklyn to have her father around, but I would love to see him be a consistent and someone who treats her not like a possession. Like I said, I did call him after the seizure, and he refused to come to the hospital. He was at the Jelly Roll concert. He said he felt uncomfortable, and he did not want to. He did not want to co-parent with me.
All right. So take a pause. So tell me about the alleged abuse that was going on in your relationship.
So it's really a hard place for me to go back to. I have over 80 recordings of all of these, whether it was him cornering me in the wall with holding Brooklyn in my arms and him, screaming in my face, him purposely waking Brooklyn up. So then he would go to sleep.
You dropped off pictures
and
I don't mean to cut you off or throw you off.
You're fine. I'm sorry.
So you have pictures with a lot of bruising on your thigh and bruising on your arm. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so there were a few that he would often grab my arms. I mean, I'm a small person. So am I saying that he balled up his fist and outright punched me? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he grabbed me up. He would push me to the floor. I had a lump on my head on June 8th at my daughter's 6th grade graduation. That was because the day prior he tried to leave the home with Brooklyn. And I obviously I couldn't let that happen. And he pushed me, my head hit the side of the door. Obviously I went back for Brooklyn, I grabbed her, and then I called the police. Just because the police labeled it as something or chose to not put something that could have.
So how often does this grabbing resulting in bruising and stuff happen? How often would you say that occurred?
Well, it didn't really occur a few times before the pregnancy. And then after I had Brooklyn, it was, I mean, I can't really put a number on it.
So
At
so
the
it
end, it just kind of
escalated,
blended together.
and it escalated after the birth. It got a lot worse,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
perceive that as him not wanting to have a child, and that was
Yeah.
seemed to be the big problem.
Yep.
And what
He
is
would,
this? What is okay? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just
No,
wanted
you
to
don't have to
mention,
apologize.
okay, I just wanted to mention this deal. In these recordings that I have, he mentions this deal. Do you not remember the deal you made? Do you not remember, talking about this deal? And he'll never admit it, but the deal was that I would do everything. I would take off work when she was sick. I would find her care. I would take her to all of her doctor's appointments. I have paid for essentially everything for Brooklyn outside of providing a roof, which Donald did do. I'm not taking that away from him, and which obviously I'm grateful for. Obviously, I wish things would have went different between him and I. And again, I know what it's like to not have a father in my life. And I would love nothing more than to see Brooklyn and Donald have a relationship, but it needs to be consistent. And certainly at the beginning, it would need to be supervised with no overnights. I don't feel comfortable supervising it. Brooklyn is on the spectrum of autism, and also she is being watched for a neurosensory disorder, which I've done a ton of research on, and I've pushed the neuro doctors into looking into it.
So what is her diet and stuff? And this may sound random. I'm listening to everything you're saying.
Yeah.
So when you say about this problem eating and stuff, if
Yeah.
she were to be with her dad, supervised or non-supervised for like a day, what does he need to know as far as her day-to-day care, as far as diet and everything else?
So I would absolutely write all of this stuff out for him each time he would get Brooklyn. But honestly, meats are usually good, but they can't be made with any gluten or any dairy. So this is a new diet that I'm still learning. But I mean, it's
Is there anything
really
you buy
hard.
over the? Is there anything you buy over the county, like a Ensure or a protein drink or anything, or no? That's not. It doesn't work either.
No. So she, I had to take her off of her formula and switch her to like almond milk or oat milk. So like, trial and error with those things, all organic. So it's expensive. I haven't received any support or any financial compensation or help from Donald. I have messages.
So let me ask this: what? So if I were to give him like every Saturday for half a day, what is your biggest fear of him caring for her that he doesn't know, or your biggest fear of him having her?
Yeah. So my biggest fear would he doesn't know what to look for with seizures. My 12-year-old has seizures. That's like a learned thing. It took me a while to understand and visualize what a seizure looked like. They're not all the grand mal seizures. There's so many different kinds. There's that. There's she is in severe pain a lot of times. So there's unconsolable crying where I know Donald's temper. I know his patience, and I know that he might get frustrated, and I'm afraid for that.
So obviously you guys were together. How old was she when you guys separated? In March? How old was she? How long had you been living together with your daughter before all this stuff happened, where the PPO happened and he was not in the house anymore?
So I left June. So I lived with Donald. So throughout the pregnancy,
So the point I'm going to get to is, so obviously all these things were happening for a good 8 months or so while you guys were still together. What was his interaction? Was he involved with the doctor's appointments? Was he caring for her, holding her, changing her doctor? Was he like, what was happening when she was crying? And were you guys talking about there's something wrong with her? We need to investigate this.
I always
was he holding her, that stuff?
So I have messages and obviously recordings and stuff that as I said, it's a hard place for me to go back to, but certainly willing to do it to prove my case.
Okay, but let's say that he wanted you to terminate your pregnancy. Let's say now he's changed his mind,
yeah, for sure,
because he's got a child and wants to be active in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he's here then, fighting for time and even custody, if he doesn't want to be part of her life?
I told myself that I didn't want to bash Donnie or anything like that in court on record.
Well, you guys got to talk about the good and the bad. You're in family court, so I got to know what's going on, because if you're asking, either one of you is asking to restrict parenting time, that's a big part of my terminology. It's a big deal, because your guys' number one right under the law is, as parents, is to have contact unrestricted with your children. Yeah. So when people are asking the court to restrict parenting time, it's got to be, now I've heard you got a plethora of medical problems that are important that everybody gets on top of. You've said you've been a victim of domestic violence. So, and I haven't asked Mr. Fisher about that, but I guess I'm wondering, and taking that all into context, why would you think he's here now asking for all of this if he really doesn't want to handle a child with multiple health problems?
Okay. And strictly my personal opinion, and it is pure narcissism. It is textbook narcissism. He has this image to protect by his boss, his new girlfriend, his friends. if he just walks away from this baby, what does he look like to all those people? So yes, of course. And he has his family to pay for attorneys he's had to literally do nothing. I have put in so much work, so much effort, all while still advocating for all of my children, still being the sole provider for them.
And realize, guys, you know, with all due respect to attorneys, they don't have magic wands. They don't come to court and just wave their wand, and because they have an attorney, you win. It doesn't go that way. I used to be a private attorney for a long time. I've done this 25 years. So I just want you to feel secure that I listen to everybody. So Mr. Fisher, you've heard there's allegations that you wanted to terminate this pregnancy after she refused. Everything spiraled and snowballed downhill as far as your relationship. She's provided pictures of bruises on her arms and legs, which she asserts are you grabbing her aggressively or violently, intimidating her, pushing her into corners. You want to respond to all of that?
Every one of those, like the days that she says those bruises were there, there's police reports from Sterling Heights where she had the police at our home. There was never any bruises. They were all civil arguments, like nothing. There was nothing like that. And to make it better,
where do you think she got all these bruises on her thighs and arm?
I don't know. I asked myself, and I was told she had low B12 and her iron was low. I have 2 children and a baby. I bruise all the time. That was the story that I got because I asked about the bruises. I thought it was weird. She had handprints on her thighs. The one on her forehead, I honestly never even paid attention to it until I seen it on the PPO. That was the first I seen of that was the picture then. And she said it happened on 6/7, which the police were at her home on 6/7. They would have seen that if that was there. There was no, I grew up in a home.
So let's take a brief pause. So ma'am, do you have any medical issues that make you easily bruise?
No, I'm not anemic. I did have a low B12, but that doesn't make you bruise like that. I have not had my older children ask me where the lumps on my head are coming from. I do not have bruises anywhere on my body right now.
So let me ask this, what is your parenting time with the other 2? What's your arrangement with their dad or dads?
Well, this was a parenting time that was arranged when I was 22 years old and young.
Okay. But what
I was
what
a victim then. I wanted it to stop. I'm much more knowledgeable now. And, you know, so.
But what is the schedule you have with them?
It's 50-50 with him and I. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Fisher, are you aware of all these medical problems that your child has and how to address them?
No, I'm learning about them as we're speaking because this is all stuff I believe that came up since June. So before she left, we were just testing for a lot of like allergy stuff, the formulas, multiple, because she was always spitting up. That was definitely a common thing we had before, like from when she came home till she left. But all this new stuff is all since I haven't seen her.
So let me ask you, did you ask Ms. Nix to terminate the pregnancy, and was that a problem in your relationship when she refused?
No, we talked about putting the baby up for adoption in the beginning because neither one of us wanted children. I have a 26-year-old. She had 2 children. That wasn't a plan, but that isn't the route we went. So we kept the baby. And
so when she says that if she plays these recordings and you say you're not doing the deal or so many words with the deal that she has to take 100% care of the baby, and you don't have to because she had the baby. What's the deal you're talking about in the audios?
It wasn't even, that was when we sat down and talked originally before the baby was born. It was there was always a relationship issue where we never had time for each other. With the other 2 kids, the activities they had, because they were constantly on the go, we barely hung out. My whole thing with it was we're clearly going to have less time because we have a child. No, it's not going to be a big deal. My mom's going to come by and watch the baby. We're still going to have the motorcycles. We're still going to ride. That's the deal. Granted, that was all gone. The motorcycles were sold, everything, because all that changed. But when we talk about, remember the things we talked about before the pregnancy, it was those things because all that didn't happen.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let me ask this. So now you've heard this plethora of health problems, possible celiacs, this EOE, a specialized diet, possible autism spectrum, seizures, neurological disorder. Are you prepared to get on top of that and have expanded parenting time? What are your thoughts now hearing all of this?
Absolutely.
There's no wrong answer. So if someone says right now this child's young, I don't feel equipped to have extended time, or if you think you can, obviously you got to get on top of it. There's no wrong answer. I don't take it as a good or bad. If you're just like, wow, this is a lot, I'm working, I have to get on top of this before I have extended time. I don't want either one of you to think that it's good or bad. I want you guys in your heart of hearts to tell me, are you prepared to work towards extended parenting time or even joint custody or whatever, having to get on top of diet and neurological problems and seizures and everything? Or what are your thoughts having heard all of this?
Absolutely. She's still my daughter no matter what. I still want to have as much time with her as I can.
Okay. Because coming from a point of putting her up from her adoption and I believe you guys probably did a talk about terminating it, but guys, people talk about that and then have children. And then
I don't believe in it.
People, okay, that's okay. That's okay. That's what I said. People talk about it and it doesn't happen. You have a child now. Now you have the additional that you have a child with a lot of health problems. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to get on top of. So I guess I'm wondering when you talk about, sir, you're talking about not having time together, and that's why you thought about putting your child up for adoption. Now we're talking intensive time with your child. This is going to be when you're with your child, this is a lot going on. And this is not, and if you talk about the strain of not being able to do things, when you're with this child, it's going to be 100% about your child when you're with your child with all these. And guys, at some point, you guys are going to have to, whether you like each other or not, these issues require both of you to be involved in all of the medical stuff, and get on top of everything. There's no choice. You don't have a if or not. You either have to be totally involved if you want extended time or joint custody, or you got to say, hey, it's a little bit more than we can deal with, or I can deal with, either one of you. So how, and you guys know where each other lives now? Am I correct, ma'am? You're in Madison Heights, and sir, you're in, where are you at? You're in
Sterling Heights.
Okay, so
Actually,
so not too far apart from each other.
No, my kids still go to school in Sterling Heights.
Okay.
So I also
All right.
want it noted that the state did approve a good cause, because it's for child support. They approved him not having to pay child support as it being a safety risk for me. I tried to call the caseworker today, but of course her voicemail was full. I went up there on Friday. I couldn't.
So you
get
did
it.
a good cause with the Office of Child Support that you don't want us involved in your case?
No, that they sent me the paperwork after a friend of the court made contact with the police.
Because, but I mean, you're gonna need child support for a child with multiple health problems, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it has been expensive, absolutely, and
All right.
it's not okay. I'm not trying.
When's the last time you guys have come into contact with each other and seen each other? Because you guys are going to have to come into contact to exchange your child with all these health problems. You're not going to be able to have this child walk from the house. Your child's got mobility problems. You're going to have to come into a direct contact with each other for parenting time exchanges. Like, there's no choice because of the health problems your child has. Can you guys handle that or no?
the last time they saw each other.
Or do you need somebody else to be there?
I'm requesting that Donald have supervised visits until he shows that he is a consistent and willing to be consistent in Brooklyn's life, especially with the neurosensory disorder and the autism. Being consistent is extremely important with those challenges.
But if you wanted supervised, who do you think is capable of supervising it?
Someone from the court.
We don't have supervisors. We don't have that. That's not something the court has. The court does not have a supervision center. We don't have appointed supervisors. We are not DHS in an abuse neglect case where they have supervised centers. But the point I'm making is,
Oakland County had them.
If you guys exchange your child, is there somebody who can be there to make sure both of you feel secure, that somebody doesn't, and this goes both ways, to feel secure that if someone's going to falsely accuse somebody of something, that's the reason you want somebody there, considering your history.
Actually, I would recommend the Sterling Heights Police Department would be the best place.
I don't want the Sterling Heights Police Department, only because they have shown severe prejudice against me. They have ignored all of the flags in domestic violence. They chose to. Is
there any third party that you guys, family member or something, that you guys are both, or friend that you both are okay with?
I can't leave Brooklyn with any strangers, and right now Donald is a stranger to Brooklyn. So what was the contact over 8 months of living together that he had with your child? What was his day-to-day contact with your child? He would walk right by her. He would walk right by her and ignore her. I have my child, my 12-year-old. She insisted on being here. She's obviously not listening right now, but if you need her testimony.
No, I don't have 12-year-olds testify in court.
Okay, I just was reading you could do that. This is why a lawyer.
So you're saying for 8 months he literally was hands off. He had nothing to do with her for 8 months.
It was maybe a handful of times the entire 8 months. This alleged suicide attempt that they're claiming I need a psych eval for. 1 day or 2 days later, I have recordings of him screaming at me because I was gone for 10 minutes longer than what I was supposed to be. It's not healthy for me to be around that again, but it's also not healthy for Brooklyn to be. I can't even hand her off to my mom and walk out of the room without her freaking out. She does not do well with people that she does not go far from.
So she won't know her dad at all?
No, I do not believe so. I do not believe that she would know Donald at all.
All right, so I'm going to make a decision here. Go ahead, counsel, because guys, I have multiple hearings. I can't.
I know.
For
that, but in response, It wasn't 8 months. She left in June. The child was a year in May, so it was 13
Okay.
months. Yes,
She
would know
ruined her first birthday party.
Stop, ma'am, stop. So Mr. Fisher, Mr. Fisher, what was your interaction with your child
I see
for
every day.
8, 9 months, 10 months? She said that you were hands off. You didn't deal with her. You were like, she's crying. She's upset. I don't want to deal with her.
I came home every day on lunch from work. I would interact with her for that hour. I got an hour every single day on lunch. I would interact with her when I came home from work every day.
What is your interaction? Describe
Normal.
it.
Feed her, change her. I put her to bed a lot of nights. Some days, yes, Amber would take her with her because the other kids would have baseball games, whatever. Brooklyn would go. But a lot of times I would keep Brooklyn. She would leave. We'd do her own thing. I took her to my dad's multiple times.
All right. So Miss Nix, you want to respond? He said that he would feed her, change her, put her to bed. You would go shopping or whatever, and he would have her.
No, it was only when I would beg him to give me a small
And
break.
how long was that?
I mean, I would have maybe an hour. And when I was speaking of that last thing, I actually went to buy his grandmother all of these things. She just went to the nursing home. He wouldn't even take those items to his grandmother. Like I just want to submit these recordings and I want the courts to just listen to them. I can provide them.
No, guys,
I can provide them from January all the way until it ended.
And what's the worst thing I'm going to hear on?
You're gonna hear me screaming, "Get off me! Get off me!" That's probably the worst thing. Or get out of my face. Or you're gonna wake up. Brooklyn.
So I take for granted these things were happening when I make my decision. So guys, I'm going to make a decision. You guys have 21 days to object. And if you haven't dealt with the family court before, but I think you have because you have another case with other children, you have 21 days to object to a referee's decision. We're going to email you a copy of the order I'm about to enter and the objection procedure. Objecting is your right under the law. At an objection hearing, the Honorable Terry Lynn Dennings will decide she wants to uphold my order or change all or part of it. And her decision as the judge is the final say. So, sir, what kind of work do you do and what's your schedule?
I am a glass technician. I work 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, 8 to 1 on Saturday.
Okay. So your one day off is Sundays?
But I don't have to work Saturdays. Saturdays is optional.
All right. So guys, again, there's a lot of issues here. The judge may not agree with me. So you do not get in trouble for objecting if you choose to do so. I don't get mad. She doesn't get mad. And her decision as the judge is the final say. So guys, this is going to be my recommendation, the temporary order of the court. 1, on a temporary basis, plaintiff father shall have parenting time with the party's daughter Brooklyn, currently age 1, on Sundays from noon to 4 p.m. Parenting time exchanges shall occur at the Madison Heights Police Department. As a result of the minor child's numerous health problems, prior to parenting time, defendant shall provide plaintiff with a list of the minor child's health problems, any treating physicians, including telephone numbers, and any dietary restrictions. Three, the minor child shall remain in the care of defendant mother, subject to plaintiff's parenting time above, pending further order of the court. So let me ask this, guys. I'm going to refer custody and parenting time for investigation. Part of that process is usually a sit down, which is what we call facilitation. I am not allowed to force you to do facilitation if there's any allegations of domestic violence, verbal, intimidation, physical, otherwise, unless you think that that process is beneficial. It would be conducted via Zoom. It would be a verbal discussion. You would not be together. So I guess, ma'am, this is for you. Do you think that's a beneficial thing? You'd like to do that, or you don't prefer to do that?
I'm sorry. And again, this is where legal representation would help me. Can you explain that in maybe a different way? I don't understand.
Yeah. So you guys would sit down with a facilitator. We also call it a mediator.
Okay.
They would tell you what the law is and how they think it applies to your case, and they would suggest a resolution, a custody and parenting time arrangement. They have no binding power. If you don't agree with them, that you move on to a full investigation.
Okay.
I cannot force you to sit down with a mediator or facilitator because you've alleged domestic violence, unless you choose to do so. Meaning, say, I want to participate in that, even though I've alleged that I've been a victim of violence. That's not a finding it's happened or not. It's just what we call the domestic violence protocol.
Okay.
Do you think that would be beneficial to sit down, or you prefer not to do that part of it?
Would I be in the same room as Donald? I'm
No,
just,
you guys would be on Zoom. So the whole point is, if you don't think you could freely express yourself to the facilitator or mediator,
okay.
you wouldn't want to participate.
Frankly, I don't
If
think
you
we
think
would
you
be
can,
able to do it.
okay. So council is saying she
He's very
prefers
fearful.
not to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna say, then
Um,
I'll say the matters. So if either one of you doesn't want to do it, I'm not gonna force you. So just gonna indicate that the matters of custody and parenting time are referred for investigation and recommendation only, as a result of allegations of domestic violence. I'm gonna waive the fee. There's usually a $500 fee split. I'm gonna waive it.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Brooklyn, she gets extremely upset, screaming, crying. She's losing her breath. Anxiety and stress does increase the chances of having another seizure. If I try to pass her off to Donald, which she is kind of weird with strangers, like I said, and she is doing one of those things, what do I do?
You don't think she's gonna recognize him after
No,
living
sir.
with him for
I would
10
like
months?
for someone from the court to at
Okay,
least witness
so-
it for the first time.
we don't do that. So your choice is to object to my order and ask the judge to do something different. She's the final say. She's the boss.
I know.
But
I'm
you
just
guys have
worried
to
about,
communicate. You have to communicate and prepare him for this. If he decides not to take her, so I count on both you as parents. So if she's having this thing and she's choking and she's reacting, so he may say, okay, I agree, I won't take her. So you guys, I count on you as parents to observe what's going on. I count on him to see if she's in such a state that she might have a medical incident, and he can choose at the time whether to take her or not. As parents, you guys, your child's health, and I'll leave that up to him to decide. If you don't like my order, you're going to have to file the objection procedure that I'm going to send you with this order and ask for a hearing with the judge. Okay?
okay, there is an
All right.
order to submit for a witness list and another hearing. I thought.
So guys,
for that
your
was
schedule,
not.
if you have questions regarding your scheduling order, you're going to have to either look those up, ask the court, but I can't give legal advice. That's a scheduling order is
No, I
different than the hearing today. And everybody, we have an email address for everybody to get their email. Guys, make sure to check your spam and junk mail too, because you'll get this email probably before lunch. Okay?
Okay.
All right,
wonderful.
guys.
And
All right, you're
when
all
does
set,
this
guys.
start? Does this start this week on Sunday?
That it would start this week if it starts this week. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then could we
unless you
refer
guys-
that to Dr. Beckley?
Dr. Beckley won't do psych evals at no cost any longer for the court. So you guys would have to pay for a full psych eval, and I'd probably send you to Wentworth and Associates, and you're probably talking a couple $1,000s. If Mr. Fisher wants both parties to submit and wants to pay for it, I'll order it. Otherwise, it's a couple grand. Otherwise, I'm not gonna.
Thank you.
All right. And does Mr. Fisher want to pay for that or no?
No, she's put him through
Okay.
enough. Just got back in his
All right.
house.
I've been taking
Yeah, so
care of a child
Dr.
who knows
Beckley
the
is no longer
court.
providing. Dr. Beckley's no longer providing full psych evals to the court.
What are we
Okay.
doing? Anything with
All right,
child support?
guys, I'll refer the issue of temporary child support for a referee hearing. So we'll send it for I'll send that for a temporary hearing to determine support. I don't have time today, guys, because my hearings are all backed up now.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good day, everybody. And
You too.
We're here then today on plaintiff's motion to enforce child support payments to bring arrearages current for modification of parenting time and other miscellaneous relief. Counsel, if you would like to proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I know you've already read my motion, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, just basically the highlights. But these folks were divorced August 4th, 2022, so just a little over a year ago. The fall of 2022, Mr. Ortega gets engaged. He gets married February of 2023. The judgment provides that he has 115 overnights with the kids. But during this last year, he's only exercised 54 overnights with the kids. My client keeps a very meticulous calendar and schedule because we've got twins that are 14 and very, very active, involved in all kinds of different things. So my client really needs, and my client works full time, so she needs to make sure that she's very, very organized. So mid-February, I guess a honeymoon, he goes on with his new wife and gave up his winter break. He says he asked for the kids to go, but I don't know that to be the case from my client. And then boom, out of nowhere, he's making 50, 60 grand. March 24th, 2023, he resigns from his job. He did not notify my client that he resigned from his job. And he did not notify my client about the fact that the children would not have any health insurance coverage until the very night that the insurance ended at midnight that night. So then he says, well, I'll put him on Medicare or Medicaid. My client reluctantly, because in the judgment, it specifically provides that he's to provide health insurance. My client says, no, I'm going to put him on my health insurance because they need, for all their extracurriculars that they participate in through school, they need to show that they have, valid medical insurance and that there isn't a lapse in coverage. And when it's going to expire at midnight, there's going to be a lapse. So that's just in response to Mr.'s claim that my client was thrilled to death to put the kids on medical insurance. There's over a $6,000 arrearage on this matter. Okay. We get some letter dated May of 2023 attached to counsel's answer. May 24, 2023, the patient has post-traumatic stress disorder, migraine, something or other, degenerative disc disease, neck and cervical, blah, blah. I mean, honestly, this person was capable and able to work all this time before. Now we just suddenly can't. So we get remarried, that wife's working, but nobody's paying anything to support these two children, these 14-year-olds that my client is supporting 100% on her own. And I don't think that the defendant even really cares about that, how that happens. He moves to St. Clair. My client lives in Sterling Heights. She absolutely will not agree to participate in driving while she's working full-time, taking the kids to all their extracurriculars. Literally, the judgment provides, the non-custodial parent provides the transportation. He's to provide the transportation. Your Honor, I go through all of these different incidents and events that occur at the house with he and his new wife. There's a domestic violence that occurs that the kids see, the kids witness. Okay. I mean, this is a very, very difficult situation. And Your Honor, my client's new wife is texting the children, okay, about your mom filed court papers and that you don't want to see your dad anymore, something to that effect. So bloody inappropriate. This is adult matter. The children shouldn't be involved in this at all, from defendant or his wife or my client. My client shouldn't say anything to the kids either. This is an adult court matter and not something that the kids should be. They've been exposed enough in this short-term relationship with dad's new wife. They've been exposed to plenty enough. Also, his new wife texting my client at 3:05 in the morning about the, come on, let's all grow up, be adults. Let's do what's best for the children. I think with all of these various and sundry alleged conditions that Mr. Ortega has, perhaps there should be a complete psychological done. In addition, this domestic violence in the house, this is scary. And I got two 14-year-old girls that are very involved in extracurricular. I think, are they right now running cross country?
Cross country, and then both do cross country and one does color guard. Okay. And one is student council and one is in CSI.
Okay. So they're good kids. They're getting good grades. They're and I mean, the judgment provided when dad was working that dad was going to give his notice to my client 60 days in advance and that he would have 2 overnights a week. Well, I mean, now it's willy-nilly. He lives that far away. It shouldn't be overnights during the week. That's an hour, according to his answer, an hour drive. The girl shouldn't be forced to get up at that time of the morning to get to school on time. So
let me ask this question of Ms. Vega. So Ms. Vega, you counted up over the last year, he only did 50 some overnights, you assert. Was that on weekends? Was that just random? How did those 50 some days happen? Were they weekends during the week? How was it just randomly or was there a schedule?
Those were the scheduled times that were dictated by his schedule through work. Those did not include the times that they were sick or they had conflicting schedules, like with their extracurricular. These were the times that he said that he could take them. The times that he missed were the times that he had an injury to an assault that he had at work. He had an illness. His household had an illness. He had transportation issues because they only have one car, or he had childcare issues because he watches his 2 stepchildren and there weren't enough seats in the car for all 4 of them. And he couldn't get our 2 girls, our children back and forth to their activities. So that's how the 54 nights came to be.
So have the nights increased after this assault? When was this assault and the downtime for injuries associated with this assault?
The assault happened on,
August 16th.
yes, and he's had, one overnight with them since then,
And you're talking August 16th of 2023 or 22?
23.
Okay, so he was behind in overnights prior to August
Yes,
when this recent assault. So the 50 some overnights, that's inclusive of last August all the way till now.
yes, sir.
So that 52 is pretty much comprised before this injury.
Yes, it's
Sounds
54 overnights is a snapshot from August 6th of 2022 to current date of this year of August 2023.
Okay, so that was before this injury happened and the none thereafter.
Correct, sir.
Okay, and counsel, I didn't mean to cut you off here. Anything else, counsel, before I hear the response?
I just honestly think if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in terms of putting the children's best interests first, that our parenting time right now be non-overnight, that child support be brought current, because I don't know about you, takes a lot of money to raise two 14-year-old kids on your own. Takes a lot of money. And there's a current charging support order that literally Mr. Ortega's just, thumbing his nose at. Didn't do anything at all. And his wife isn't doing anything toward trying to pay down this support arrearage. I just, and if he's trying to qualify for disability, well, until we're qualified, we still have an ongoing support obligation that needs to be complied with. And if he did qualify for disability, then the children would get some type of benefit, but they have zero benefit. And my client's looking to be reimbursed for the medical insurance. Again, he just stops doing. He doesn't go to the court and say,
okay,
this is my responsibility and I'm doing nothing.
All right, I got the argument. All right, counsel, your response to everything?
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, as it relates to the parenting time, my client obviously acknowledges that he lives an hour away. And oftentimes when he does have the children on the weekend, he does voluntarily bring them back Sunday night instead of Monday so that they don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get to school on time. So I know that does account for some of his parenting time days or overnights that have, would have added up to his 115 overnights. There's been also sometimes that my client, does claim that his parenting time has been denied by plaintiff due to the children being involved in extracurriculars. He hasn't filed a motion for makeup parenting time. I'm not arguing that he at this time about makeup parenting time. However, I want the court to know that my client is not just not seeing the children because he doesn't want to be involved in their lives. Oftentimes, if he gives up an overnight, it's to accommodate or be more convenient for the children and their travel so that he doesn't have to travel back and forth with them at early hours of the morning to get them to school or other activities. We would also, Your Honor, as it relates to his job, he was employed with MDOC. He did resign back in March. He has had multiple hospitalizations, including one last week. He does suffer from PTSD. He's 60% disabled through the VA. He has applied for 100% disability through the VA. We have not received a decision on that, whether or not that's been approved. Obviously, there is a charging order in place. Child support is accruing and there is an arrearage. I would ask for the court to refer this issue to friend of the court, set up a payment plan, or refer this for further investigation. Hopefully at some point soon, we will have an answer as it relates to his disability. But until then, I understand something has to be done. The issue, Your Honor, as it relates to the parenting time, I'm just going to go back to that real quick. I know opposing counsel is arguing that his parenting time should either be suspended or no overnights. The issue that happened with the domestic violence, there's been no CPS investigation. There's no law enforcement interaction going on with that. In addition, my client voluntarily to try to understand and be proactive about what's happening. He underwent a substance use evaluation on September 12th. He has a follow-up this coming week where they will make a plan of treatment if one's appropriate. Him and his wife also have signed up for marriage counseling, which is to start, I believe, this week as well. And then he also signed himself up for a mental health evaluation to determine a plan of care as it relates to that and his current PTSD issues. He does get benefits from the VA. So all of those appointments and providers are through the VA. Once those are available, those reports and plan of treatment, we will gladly, share those with the court. And we're proposing that my client complete those and follow all recommended plan of care. That I think, at least from what I'm hearing, is a lot of these issues that is going on between my client and his current wife, or the alleged issues. I think that him entering into these treatment programs hopefully will start to derail some of these issues that are going on.
And
Lastly,
why
Your
is there
Honor,
why is there a substance abuse evaluation?
because there's allegations that at least the most recent incident was involved with alcohol. I think mostly on the part of my client's current wife. But to be transparent, my client also signed up to do a substance use evaluation as well. I am awaiting those recommendations. I think, and Mr. Ortega could correct me, but I think that follow-up appointment is this week to determine a future plan of care.
Okay, let me ask this. And how long was Mr. Ortega? And Mr. Ortega, you can answer too, but you have counsel, so that's why I'm talking to counsel, but I don't mean to act like you or Ms. Vega are not here. So how long was Mr. Ortega with the Michigan Department of Corrections?
About 3 years, Your Honor.
Okay, so let me ask, why would you quit rather than, do you have long-term disability or short-term disability through your employment at MDOC?
For Your Honor, for several months, my Dr. Linda Coulter was telling me that they were recommending that due to my health, I could quit. Only reason
Right. But the point I'm making is, why would you quit rather than submit medical documentation to your employer, MDOC, and go on long-term disability based on medical disability provided through your employer? Why would you? Because when you quit, you don't avail yourself of any disability through your employer if it's available, and you then don't get unemployment. Because unemployment, if you voluntarily quit, you don't qualify for unemployment. So if you're disabled because of PTSD or stress that's exacerbated by work, why wouldn't you try to get workman's comp, or why wouldn't you try to utilize your short-term disability? So workman's comp would be attached to something at work. So I get if you're saying my medical problems are from the military and stuff, they're not from work, I'm not going to qualify for workman's comp, but you can qualify for short-term disability or FMLA because of medical issues that make it so you can't work. I guess I'm wondering, why did you have any kind of disability policy long-term or short provided by MDOC? And if not, why wouldn't you apply for FMLA or a leave based on medical problems?
Your Honor, I did have FMLA, and at the time I resigned, I extinguished all my FMLA hours. While I was working at MDOC, I was roughly getting paychecks of $100 because I was paying child support. $50.
Okay, so you had some kind of disability. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm listening.
Yeah.
And you depleted all your FMLA, and they said, we can no longer accommodate you. You've utilized all of the accommodation we can provide to you based on FMLA. Does that sound right or wrong?
Not correctly. I had an episode at work, and at the moment, it was best for me to resign. My blood pressure was going high, etc., and I resigned. But
why wouldn't you just utilize more FMLA? Why would you suddenly resign?
Didn't have no more FMLA hours. At the time, I didn't. SSD, I was in the military. SSD, non-civilian benefits, is stuff I'm still learning.
Have you applied for Social Security disability?
No, I'm waiting to see what happens with my VA disability.
Is the VA disability greater than the SSD through the federal government through SSD?
If I get 100%, VA disability, I'll roughly get it.
I'd say if you get 100%, well, you'll get $3,900 a month. Is that about right, or am I wrong?
About 4,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's about $3,900,
yeah. And
that's probably more than SSD. Any ideal when they're going to make this determination? What's your 60% getting you? You're 60% disabled. What does that get?
My 60% is 1,588.
1,588. So why have you paid no support at all if you're getting 1,588 a month?
Because I'm trying to pay all my bills off.
I know, but you have 2 children that need food, clothing, and shelter.
After I finish paying all my bills, and when my children come over to my house, entertaining them, buying them, and giving them everything they need.
Well, let me ask this: is your current spouse employed?
Yes, she is.
Okay, and what kind of income does she earn?
About 50,000, 60,000. Her paycheck is.
So you guys have so much, and I'm not saying this to be mean or disrespectful, but I'm going to be blunt. This is a court of law, so I'm going to be blunt. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So your wife makes 50 grand, and your household expenses at your marital home use up her whole 50 grand of income, and your 1588 a month and 60% VA disability, you have nothing left over for your two 14-year-old twin daughters to help them with food, clothing, shelter?
She also has an autistic child, stepson, and a daughter.
Yeah, but your children are getting zero. You haven't paid anything since May, but you have almost 1,600 a month coming in, and a wife who's making 50 grand. You couldn't even come up with 100, 200, or any attempt to pay at all during in the last several months?
Every time I'm getting ready to make a payment, something, for example, this motion that got filed, I was about to give her $3,500.
Well, why don't you not pay it? What are you using your 1,600 a month for? You're almost 1,600. What are you paying with that?
Pay my bills.
Okay, but
my card note.
Isn't it more important that your 14-year-old daughters have food on the table than if you pay your credit card payment one month or get behind on some other bill?
Every weekend when my daughters come and see me, the weekend they do come see me versus minus the days I have COVID or the. Why have you waited till they file a motion to ask for a modification of support? Why didn't you ask when you stopped paying back in May? Why haven't you brought this to the court's attention? I contacted a friend of the court shortly after I resigned, informed them that I resigned due to medical reasons. I sent them a copy. And they told you have to file a motion, probably, right? They told me how to file a motion. I got notice how to file it. They told me that I need to come back to them by mid-September and September. Okay. So what is Miss? So Miss Vega, what do you?
I'm having a hard time understanding Mr. Ortega.
Okay, I can. You guys, I can hear him. Okay, can everybody else? I can understand him. So Miss Vega, what do you do? Okay, I can hear him. Okay, but I'm sorry if you guys. So Miss Vega, what do you do for work?
I'm an administrative assistant for Utica Community Schools.
And you have a 2-income household or no significant other spouse?
I have no. Okay,
so you are the sole support of your household. So when you get nothing, you have to support your daughters and your son from another relationship. I hear another. Is that correct?
I only have the 2 twins. I don't have any other children.
Okay. So sir, did you not say?
A 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, the new one.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. All right. And ma'am, what kind of income do you earn?
I earn about $40,000 a year.
All right. So Mr. Beggy, do you understand where I'm going with this? She's a single parent making 40 grand. You have 1,600 a month coming in, which is upwards of 23,000 a year, and your wife is employed, and her children are her responsibility, is not yours. I would expect some kind of money to come out of your $1,600 a month. If you can't pay the $1,100, I may understand that, but paying zero doesn't. I mean, that leaves it up to Ms. Vega as a single mother to pay all these bills. That doesn't work. All right. Ms. Bomarito, anything else you want to add?
Your Honor, the only thing that I wanted to bring up was just that the parenting time, obviously in the judgment of divorce, the parenting time was based on my client's work schedule and days that he's off. I guess at this time, I'm first proposing that that the parties communicate through app close. I think Ms. Finazzo was proposing that as well. But also, in addition to that, the schedule, my client lives an hour away from the children where they go to school. So I know that is something that is of concern for all the parties. So
I'm gonna change their schedule today, guys, just so you know.
Okay. And I think my client, I guess, would propose an alternating schedule so that the children still have weekends with mom as well. Maybe an alternating weekend schedule or a Thursday, Friday, so that there's limited, time for them to have to travel to school.
I would in fact agree with that.
Except Your Honor,
so guys, go ahead, Ms. Finazzo.
Not overnights during the weekday when he lives an hour away.
Okay, I got you. I got you guys. All right, so guys, I'm going to make a recommendation in temporary order of the court. Defendant's parenting time is modified to the 16th Circuit reasonable parenting time schedule, with defendant providing the transportation to effectuate his parenting time. That is an every other weekend schedule from Friday to Sunday. I'm going to eliminate the midweek. It doesn't sound like that's doable. The midweek dinner parenting time is eliminated because Mr. Ortega, I take it you're not going to drive to exercise 2 hours at dinner on Wednesdays. That sounds logistically not doable? Is that correct?
If it is to see my kids, I'll do anything.
So you want to drive there and go to dinner with them once a week on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll leave it in there. I'm just going to indicate it's okay. I'm not going to eliminate the midweek, but I'm going to indicate that defendant shall contact plaintiff on Tuesday of whether or not he chooses to exercise his Wednesday dinner. So, sir, you got to let her know a day in advance if you're planning to do dinner, so she has a heads up, and the girls have a heads up if you're going to do the dinner or not. Obviously, that's not a lot of. You're not going to be able to drive there and drive back home. You're going to have to take them out to dinner somewhere near Ms. Vegas because you don't have time to get there and back. But I'll leave it in there if you want it. I'm going to put a 2. Defendant shall pay $750 towards his child support arrearages immediately. So, sir, you've had since May, you get $1,600 a month. You need to make a payment towards that arrearage that's accumulated. I'm trying to be reasonable with that payment. You got to pay something. I'm going to put 3. The matters of, or is this 3? Yeah. Parties should use AppClose, the AppClose application for communication other than emergencies. Obviously, however, if there's an emergency, you're on the way to the hospital or something, or your child gets injured playing sports or something, guys, pick up the phone. You don't use AppClose for that. I'm going to then put the issues of parenting time, child support, and tax exemptions is referred for referee evidentiary hearing effective August 4th, 2022. So we go back to the date of the filing of the motion, which is August 4th, and I'm going to refer parenting time and child support as well as the tax exemptions for referee hearing. And I'm going to further indicate 5, should defendant be asserting disability, he should provide verification from a doctor's, from his treating physician at minimum on doctor's letterhead, indicating the exact nature of his illness or illnesses and any restrictions on his ability to work. So the exhibits, I appreciate them attached to the response that you're getting 60% VA disability in the list that you're asserting, but that is not from a treating physician. I need verification. Same thing that anyone else is going to want for disability, I want as well. And just asking for it and listing off things isn't going to do it. I need some kind of, me or the referee who does this hearing is going to need more detail, and you can talk to your counsel about that. Is there anything else, guys, that you need me to address with this order that I failed to address?
Yes, Your Honor. I want a date, please, that $750 has to be paid by.
It's, I would say it's forthwith, immediately.
Can I have it forthwith is different to all? Can I have by September 22nd?
Okay, I will put, that's fine. I'll put by, today's the 18th. I'll put by end of the day. We'll switch it to, shall pay $750 by end of the day, Friday, September 22nd, 2023.
Thank you, Your Honor. And is there an ongoing monthly support amount that's being paid?
Well, I mean, it's charging $1,100 a month. This is what I always say. And this is the point I was making, Mr. Ortega. Paying something is better than nothing. Paying something shows an attempt to recognize an obligation and the need of your children. Paying 0 and saying, well, I have my own expenses with my spouse isn't overly impressive to the court. No offense. Paying something is better than nothing. So I would suggest something be paid rather than 0. And I will leave it there, and you can talk to your counsel about that. Anything else, guys, before I conclude this hearing?
No, Your Honor. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
All right. So, guys, I'm going to send you guys, email everybody a copy of this order and the objection procedure. Again, you have 21 days to object. If no one objects within 21 days, this will remain the order of the court. And you guys should get a copy of this order and the objection procedure by the end of the day. If you don't see it in your email, please check your junk and spam. Sometimes, for some reason, computers will send it there. If you still don't have it, just give my office a call. Make sure you get it. To legal custody, to prevent defendant from appearing at the children's school and prohibiting posting of children's photos on social media. And just so you know, Ms. Tortomosa, you will be given a full opportunity to respond once counsel's done with her argument. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And counsel, if you'd like to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. It gives me no great pleasure in taking up the court's time this morning. I did attempt to send a copy of this motion along with a letter urging Ms. Tortomosa to remove the pictures from social media to avoid having to appear today, but that did not occur. Just by way of background, Your Honor, a judgment was entered on August 16th, 2022. And in that, it granted plaintiff father sole legal and sole physical custody of the minor children. That because of that provision, it's our assertion that defendant mother has no authority to appear at the children's school, to remove them from school, or to otherwise appear outside her structured parenting time, which is supervised. There is also contained in that judgment, although it was loosely worded, and we would like some clarification from the court today, that she shall not post any pictures of the children on social media, that this should include members of her family. Recently, the maternal grandfather was posting various pictures of the children on social media. And because of his conviction in the past for being a predator, we would urge the clause to be expanded to include any of her family members. Therefore, we're asking the court to enter an order prohibiting her from appearing at the children's school, and also from providing pictures of the minor children either on social media or to any of her family members. We want to prohibit her from doing that. And failure to comply with that, I would ask the court to indicate that she'll be prohibited from taking pictures, period, of her children.
Okay, so let me ask this question. So this judgment was a default judgment entered on August 16, 2022. I'm going to be honest, guys. And is there any allegations these pictures were inappropriate in any way? Were they just pictures of the children and that anyone would want or post as a parent?
Mr. Tortomosi.
And Mr. Tortomosi, this is for
sorry.
you. I mean, was there anything inappropriate in these pictures, or were these pictures that a parent would have of their children?
It's really not inappropriate. What it is, it's for crowded people that she's around. She hangs around with dangerous people, and it puts my kids in jeopardy.
So tell me how posting pictures that we agree, and I understand you're saying they're not inappropriate. They're pictures that any parent would have of a child. Would that be a correct statement as a starting point?
Correct.
So there's nothing. So what is the danger of third party? So lots of people post pictures of their children on social media. Lots of people see social media. What is the danger of a parent, being their mother, posting regular pictures of children that lots of parents do? And
Because
I see this as a
she's
default, and there
friends
is
with.
but so you think, what are these people going to do if they see pictures of your children?
If she makes somebody mad with her habits that she has, and they want to go after her kids, that puts them in endangerment.
Okay. So let me ask this: how long were you guys married?
Around 8 years, I'd say. I'm not exactly
Okay.
sure.
And how long were you guys split up before you divorced on August 16th of 2022?
I don't know. I'm going to say about a half year, but the first 5 years,
Okay.
things been going sour since the first 5 years when I found out.
So who are all these? So you guys were together 8 years. She was associating with all these dangerous, horrible people during your marriage?
No, when she was with me, she did not associate with any of them. It's when she leaves and goes on her spree. When she leaves, she goes right back to her old habits.
And what are the habits that you're alleging?
Drugs. She would prostitute. And that's it. That's all I need to know.
And that was happening during your marriage? You would split up and
this
have
is when
periods of separation?
this is when she would leave, because I feel like she would have a relapse. So then she would leave, and then we try, and it's just a repeat. It's been repeat ever since the first 5 years.
And have you guys have not been back since entry of your judgment? Would that be a correct statement? I don't see. There's not been counsel legal action since
Correct.
the judgment? Okay. All right. And why do you think how do you know she's participated in solicitation and alleged that she's using drugs and participate in solicitation, probably arguably to obtain money for drugs? Why do you think that, or how do you know that?
I've seen emails on her email account. I have proof.
From back when you were married, you don't have access to her emails anymore, right? Now that you're
Not
divorced.
anymore, but for some reason, my daughter's email was connected with her email, and I'd get those emails. And I have emails that I've saved in the past, and nothing's changed with her.
Emails of people saying what?
Of her trying to leave the country with other guys on these websites and asking them that she's open to do anything. It wasn't really drugs related. It was more like trying to find a sugar daddy related, hooking up for money.
Okay. Is she exercising her parenting time currently per your judgment?
Correct.
Okay. And the parenting time, remind me of what that schedule is.
If she is facilitated by my mother, she comes once a week. She visits for an hour. She calls the kids, which is fine. That's all right. It's
Okay.
all fine.
And you think that if any of these people see pictures of your children, they'll somehow know what they look like to locate them?
You never know. These people on their social media, they're lowest of the lowest. They have nothing to lose. Those are the most dangerous people there are.
Okay. All right. So let me ask this question. So ma'am, this is your opportunity to respond, but just as a starting point, and guys, you guys have a judgment, ma'am. I'm going to direct this towards you. You have a judgment of divorce, a default judgment. So you were not there when it got entered. Is that a correct statement, ma'am? You didn't go to court or make any statements to the judge or take issue with any of these provisions?
Well, that is correct, Your Honor. I actually was living in the house with Anthony and the children the time that the last court date was being processed. He lied to me, said I didn't have to be there, and turns out I did have to be there. I also have been living in the house since December 31st of 2022 up until August 22nd of this year. And I recently just left. And everything was going fine these past 8 months. We started fighting and arguing, and I thought that it was time for me to just go. I since then have had gotten hired at McLaren affiliated nursing home in Port Huron, Michigan. I took a drug test 2 weeks ago in order to get this job. And I'm doing everything right. What he is saying is,
okay, so just pause. You said a few things, sir. So I'm gonna go. So you guys were reconciled from December 2022 through August 22nd, 2023.
correct. We were living together and taking care of the children.
So let's take a pause. So Mr. Ontropolis, was she living with you from December 2022 through August 22nd of this year? Till a few weeks ago?
She came back a couple of times. She even came and worked for my company, put her on payroll. Didn't work out. She left a couple of weeks ago. I was in Aruba with my kids. I caught her doing cocaine, and I caught her sending videos to guys. And I have proof of it. I have proof of the videos. I have proof of the text messages and everything. When she did come back, I think she was pregnant by somebody else too. I helped her out with that.
So let me ask this. So how old is your children?
8 and 9.
And so when she was there back and forth from December through August, what's
She
her
was
interaction
always
with the kids?
supervised by me or my mother. She was never alone with these kids. Never.
But what does that mean when you're supervising her? You're in the other room or what?
We're together. We're under the same roof.
So what was her interaction with the kids while you were together in the house?
I did everything for them.
She was trying, and she did some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, she helped out.
So what did she do? What was the stuff she was doing? And ma'am, I'll let you respond in a moment.
What do you mean by that, sir?
So she just said I was doing everything. What was she doing on a date? What were you doing and what was she doing? And what was your routine on a day-to-day basis?
Work and take care of the kids.
So who made breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
My mother, me, or her.
So your mom lives with you at your house?
My mom lives with us. My mom is a huge asset to these kids because I'm very busy.
Okay, well, that's great to have that's always good to have loving family members. So your mom was doing all the cooking? Miss Mosi didn't participate?
99% of the cooking.
Okay, and who took the kids to the store, to the doctor's appointment, or do they do extracurriculars or anything? Who did all that?
We all took part in that.
We all took part of it.
He's stating that he doesn't want me at the school, but for the past 8 months, I went to every school function, field trips, took them to and from school.
And I was there,
You were not all the time.
So, sir, what did she do?
So don't start this stuff.
Stop, sir. When I say stop, you stop. When I talk, you both stop talking. Got me? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm asking a question. All right. So, sir, she's at all the events. What did she act inappropriate in any way over the last 8 months when you were living together?
No, that's the problem. When she's here, she was good, but then she goes on a drug binge. Okay, and there's been nothing but issues since the first 5 years when I realized she had drug problems. It's been nothing but issues. She has mental problems. She needs help, and she won't get it.
So stop. Let's take these. What are the alleged mental health problems, and how did they exhibit themselves from December 2022 through August of this year when you were reconciled?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
So you say she has mental problems. How do they exhibit themselves? How do they exhibit themselves?
1 minute she'll be happy. The kids will ask her for something to eat. She'll flip out. It's bipolar. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, but she needs to see one.
Did she go to the doctor over the last?
I tried helping her. She'll take her medicine, then she'll quit taking it.
All right. So ma'am, do you want to add to this dialogue your thoughts or?
Yes, I would just like to say that I was cooking dinner, taking the kids to school, breakfast, lunch, my mental problem. I got mad at Anthony, as couples do. We argued back and forth, but I never took my anger out on the children. I've never hit my children or anything like that, unlike Anthony.
So do you want to respond that he came and caught you using cocaine and that you're soliciting people online, either video or otherwise? Do you want to
If I
comment
was
on
using
that?
cocaine, the only time I was using it was with Anthony Tortomosi. So
Absolutely not. You were doing it in Aruba when I was out of the country with the kids.
Sir, talk to me. I don't want you guys arguing with each other. Guys, this is what happens if you guys don't listen to me. I revoke your privilege to be on Zoom. That is a privilege, not a right, being remote. If you guys can't listen to me, I will have you come in appear in person in the future for motions. You will have to drive, park at the courthouse and sit in my courtroom. That's probably inconvenient. So I suggest you listen to me and not argue with each other and talk one at a time. I can hear you one at a time. I've done this 25 years. I was a private family attorney before the court. Guys, no one's going to get a zinger in there. So stop talking over each other. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
sir, she's now talking. I don't want you to call her a liar or interject. You wait till she's done, and then you and your attorney can respond. So I'm listening to her respond, and then you started saying no, da 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 da. So before she responds, Mr. Turnamosi, have you used narcotics with her in the from December 22 to August? So she's a liar. When she says you guys use coke together, you're lying. She's a liar.
Correct.
Okay. So, ma'am, what is your current living situation?
I am living with my father at the time. And like I said, I understand why he doesn't want the children here, being his record. He is not a child molester. It says nowhere in his arrest record that he ever molested or touched a child. So right there, they're making that up.
So tell me what the reality is. If that's not true, what is the truth?
He was charged with doing stuff on the computer. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was distributing child pornography or what it was. I'm not sure exactly.
And how long did he go to prison for that?
He didn't spend a day in prison, Your Honor.
He didn't. Was he in jail, the county jail, for an extended
He was
period
in
of time?
county jail for 2 days.
How long ago was that?
This was, I would say 7 to 10 years ago. I'm not exactly sure.
So 7 to 10 years. So during the 8 years you guys were married, was your dad having contact with the children when you guys were together?
Yes, he's actually not the last year, because Mr. Tortomosi did not like him for speaking his mind to him. But yes, in the past 3 years, he has been in contact with the kids. He has been over at our house for birthday parties, Christmases, and spent plenty of time with the children.
So so now take a breath, guys. I'm going to move to procedurally here. So ma'am, when you got that August 16, 2022 judgment divorce, and you say he tricked you and not to going or whatever, let me play devil's advocate. So if I believe you and say he tricked you into not going, when did you finally get a copy of the judgment, finding out that it gave you supervised by his mother, and that you couldn't post any form of pictures on social media, which are specific provisions in the judgment? When did you get that judgment and find out those provisions were there?
I left Thanksgiving of last year. I had left the house again for us fighting, us arguing, us bickering. And then when I left and came to my dad's, that's when I found out the parenting time and everything. I actually had my sister call me Thanksgiving Day to say that we were divorced. I had no idea that we were divorced.
So you find out in Thanksgiving of 2022. Is there a reason you haven't filed a motion coming back to court to say, hey, there's this provision about not posting pictures. Hey, it gives me restricted supervised parenting time. Is there a reason you didn't come back to court and say, hey, these are really restrictive provisions and I want to be able to post pictures and I want to have unsupervised or time that's not supervised by his mother who lived with you guys? Is there a reason you haven't come back to say, hey, I didn't know this judgment was entered?
I haven't done anything because I went back with him and I was living there and everything. So I just, everything was going great in my eyes. And then when I left this time, yes, I am working on it. I actually would like I'd rather have a lawyer handle this situation for me. So I will be able to pay a lawyer this Friday. And so I'm just going to have him handle it all.
Well, it's up to you whether you have attorneys or not, guys. I'm here now listening to you. So, and if you get an attorney, make sure they know that he has counsel, because they'll let Mr. Ross know. Correct. So what is your thoughts? What is your intent? What do you think the order should be? If you don't because as a starting point, guys, the court views orders as clear on their face. That means if your order clearly says you shall not post pictures of your children, that's a provision right now that's in this judgment.
Go ahead.
Okay, go. Well, I'm just making a point. It's in the judgment. You've never changed that. So at a starting point, when they say we want to enforce this provision, you have a provision that says don't post pictures of your children.
Correct.
Why we're having this big long dialogue is I'm wondering how you got there and what's the dynamics. I've now heard them. But as a starting point, you have a provision in a judgment that says you shall not post pictures. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. And you're planning to ask that parenting time be modified, and you're going to file a motion to that effect?
Yes. And I'm going to file a motion so I can post pictures, I guess, of my children on social media, as you stated.
So when he says that he's worried that you associate with people that are either that are hiring you in an illegal manner, or that are drug users that would potentially prey on your children, what is your response to that?
I'm not doing any of those things. Like I said, I am working at a nursing home through McLaren. I start school October 11th to become a registered nurse. I'm starting a CNA program this Wednesday. So any of these old habits that I may or may have not done are in the past. I'm working on getting my children and getting my life together so I can take care of them and get them out of the situation living with their father.
So where do you think he's getting these allegations from? They're pretty extreme allegations. Where do you think he's getting this stuff from, or why is he making them?
Because when me and Mr. Tortomosi did get together the 12 years ago that we started dating, we met at a strip club. So yes, I was a stripper, but we met there.
Okay. And guys, just as an aside, if you're doing anything online that's legal, OnlyFans, whatever, I'm just using that as an example. Are you doing things that are legal online, ma'am?
Everything that I'm doing is legal online. I do not have any OnlyFans. I'm not on any dating sites. I don't even have a Facebook. So everything that I'm doing is just, I feel I'm doing nothing wrong.
So you're not doing anything online that's legal that would be, for instance, termed adult entertainment, the adult industry.
I'm not doing any adult entertainment.
Okay. And guys, why I ask that is I'm not assuming it. I'm just saying there's a difference between illegal and legal. So if there's something going on legally that's being, argued that it's illegal, there's a difference. And there's those things that we just talked about are legal. So I just want everyone to be honest. If it's something legal that's being interpreted as illegal, I want to know. And if there's nothing happening, I want you to argue that too. And so, ma'am, you're saying you're not engaging in any kind of adult entertainment or adult industry, legal or otherwise, is your position.
Correct. I'm not doing any of those things.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Tortomosi, you assert she's lying to me right now? She's lying to the court?
I have text messages when I was in Aruba with the kids. I can get copies of conversations, the videos, the pictures. The reason she left in November is because I found out she was pregnant with someone else's kid, which I paid for the abortion for her.
Okay.
And her dad, he was never around. All those years we were together, her whole side of the family didn't come to anything but her mom. Her dad probably came to 3 events, really knows my kids, and that's why I want to keep it.
Okay. And guys, why are we doing all this? And I appreciate council's being very patient with me and not interjecting here. Why I got into this, guys, is if she files a motion for parenting time, this is all going to be a debate. So the point I'm making here right now is, guys, if there's any way for you guys to talk, which sounds like it's pretty hard right now, council can help you guys facilitate some kind of agreement. It sounds like she's going to be filing a motion. This stuff is all going to get referred. And why I'm talking about it right now is there's any way for you guys to resolve any of this without her filing a motion. You guys can talk and potentially council can assist you in preparing some kind of order. If not, she's going to file a motion and this is all going to come out. Why I just wanted to hear where you started, how you got here. But you guys have a pretty big divide between your positions right now. All I'm going to say right now in regards to this order today is one, as there is a default judgment entered on August 16, 2022, which bars posting of the minor children by defendant on social media. Her and her family shall not do so, absent further order of the court. And ma'am, I'm going to make you bring that motion yourself. This is a judgment that's been entered, so I'm not going to refer it necessarily without you taking the step to file a motion and assert why that shouldn't exist anymore. And let's see here. And what else would you like me to address today, counsel?
Her showing up at school if it's not her parents.
All right, so let's talk about that briefly. So, ma'am, did you take the children to school, or you were just going to visit them? What went on with the school?
The last time I was at the school was when I was living there together. The only time I can think of is what he's talking about is I've been going to my son's soccer games. I didn't see anything being wrong with that, but if I'm in fault,
you can go to any extracurriculars you want to. You're not prevented from going to extracurriculars, parent teacher conferences, school events, any of that. You're welcome to go there. So what's your concern about her going to the school? This would allude to me that you're talking about random times during the day for lunch or some other time. What is your problem with the school?
I don't mind if she goes to school as long as I am there. I don't want her father there. I don't want her sister there. They're bad news. They're bad people. Why do I want bad people on my kids?
What is your allegations of her appearing at the school? What are you referring to? Are you saying in the middle of the day she went to see the kids and check them out of class? Or are you saying
I don't want her taking them out. I don't want her taking them out.
Has she ever taken them out of school or done any of the things that you're afraid of?
But I don't want to wait for the problem to happen. I want to avoid that problem.
Well, the court makes rulings based on things that have happened, not on what you're fearful of happening if they're unfounded fears. Why, ma'am, do you have any intent to go in the middle of the day and remove your kids in violation of a court order or take them out of school?
No, I wouldn't do that because it's a court order.
She's already violated the court order by posting pictures on social medias.
Okay. But you correlate posting pictures on social media, regular pictures, with taking your children out of school and removing them from school? How do you connect the two?
I'm just saying she's already violated one. So what's the reason she want to violate a second one? That's why we're here today, because she violated.
Life is full of what ifs, and I don't rule on what ifs. I rule on evidence and facts that have been presented to the court.
So you wait for the problem to happen? Is that what you're saying?
Sir, this isn't a question and answer session between us. If you don't like my order when I rule it, you can talk to counsel.
I'm just asking. I don't know.
This isn't a question and answer session between us. I ask questions and then you answer. That's how it works. That's how court works.
Well,
it doesn't go the other way. The point I'm making is, guys, you can sweat the small stuff or you can exaggerate stuff and make it outrageous and unreasonable. But if you're going to want an order saying she can't show up at school, guys, I don't make orders to cover every scenario. She has no history of showing up at your child's school with her dad or anyone else other than regular events.
Yeah, but isn't this already in order? Isn't this already in order in this divorce paperwork?
I don't know. Tell me, is there a provision in this order that says she can't go to school?
I don't have it in front of me right now. I'd have to go over it.
That would not be a common provision order. That wouldn't be commonly done in an order. Counsel, any comments or anything you'd like to interject?
I believe what he's referring to is the fact that he has sole legal custody. I did advise them that if one of the children has a soccer game, they'd be there anyway, so there's no objection to her going to something like that, like an extracurricular activity. Can I clarify one thing to put it in the record?
Sure, absolutely. Counsel, anything you want to interject?
Sorry, I filed a proof of service indicating that I sent her a copy of the judgment of divorce as well as the uniform support order on August 17th, 2022, almost immediately after it was entered. I served it to her at her last known address on Kewadin, which I believe is her father's address. So I believe I even had a few email exchanges with her prior to the entry of this judgment. I do know that I served her a copy of the proposed judgment prior to entry. So her allegation that this was all a surprise is
she's no, but even from Mr. Namosi's testimony, she knew as of Thanksgiving of last year, which was 9 months ago. So even then, there's been 9 months to address these restrictions in the judgment. All right, so I'm going to indicate that both parties are permitted to attend the minor child's extracurricular sporting events and parent-teacher conferences, etc. This is what I'll say regarding appearing at school. Neither party shall appear at the minor children's school during the school day absent a legitimate reason for the same, i.e. family emergency, illness, doctor's appointment, etc. Those guys are just some examples of why you would want to appear at school. I mean, most parents, guys, don't show up at a child's school, either parent, during the school day and pull them out of class. So, guys, that's just a given. That's a unique situation in the court, or anyone's going to be like, if anyone's showing up at school at random times, that wouldn't make sense. But I haven't heard anyone's done that. So I'll just say what is reasonable, and no one's done it. I'm not finding that anyone did it. And I'm just making clear, if you guys need clarification, Don't be showing up at random times during the day unless there's a legitimate reason. Illness of yourself, a child, family emergency, doctor's appointment for your child, dentist appointment, whatever, guys. But I haven't heard it's happening, and I've not found it's happened. But if you want me to say don't show up random times to school, I'll say it. All right. I'm going to put in here 3. Should defendant wish to modify any of the provisions of the judgment, including parenting time, restrictions on photos, etc., she may file a motion and request the court to revisit those issues. I'm not going to say what the court's ruling would be, but ma'am, you got to present those issues to the court via motion. Motion packets are provided online at the front of the court website. You can e-file them. They're not that complicated. You don't necessarily need attorneys. If either party wishes to obtain an attorney, they're welcome to do so. But this is a motion to enforce, so I'm not going to impromptu basically refer issues that are not before the court at motion. So ma'am, if you want the court to revisit those provisions, you got to file your own motion, okay?
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, counsel, anything else? I'm going to put 3. The matter of attorney fees is reserved to be addressed by the court should either party file objections to this recommendation. All right.
That's nothing further at this time.
All right. So guys, and sir, I advise you to talk to Mr. Ross whether you want to object or not. I think Mr. Ross understands the points I've been making. You guys don't have to necessarily agree with me. You have 21 days to object. Add an objection here. The Honorable Terry Lynn Dennings may uphold my order or change all or part of it.
And although the
and
motion is
for decision
looks like is blank. Let me see here.
even though your motions are blank, your notice of hearing says you were requesting reinstatement of joint custody with 50-50 parenting time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, so I'm just going to further procedural history note that on March 14, 2023, you guys agreed to a parenting time order by which you were awarded stepped up parenting time, culminating, ma'am, and you receive in the 16th Circuit schedule with alternate weekends, one night a week for dinner, and alternate holidays as of July 19, 2023. Did you begin doing that as of July, every other weekend, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're asking for modification of custody and parenting time. So what is changed, and what's the change of circumstances that you think the court should modify this order to joint custody with equal parenting time?
Well, I'm going to be honest and say that the last time I seen my kids was 2 months ago. He's been holding them from me because there was an incident where I had a couple beers when I was with the kids, and that's that. So now I have not seen them in 2 months.
Okay. And I am going to indicate I do have that March order in front of us, and under that order, it says that if you fail a breathalyzer preceding parenting time, it's to automatically be suspended. So I don't know the response, but I'm thinking Mr. Abercrombie has something to do with that. Well, so Mr. Abercrombie, why has Miss Reed not had parenting time in 2 months?
Well, on July 22nd was going to be her first full weekend with the children, and it was a Friday. So I dropped them off, and within a few hours, I got messages from the kids that mom's drunk and they almost got hit by cars. And so I made the police went over there. I've provided a police report. I emailed it to your email from the Fraser police, basically stating that she was, abusing the kids verbally and smelled like liquor, and it's a pretty nasty.
Did you send her a copy of this too?
No, I did not.
Okay, so guys, just so you know, whenever you guys are forwarding any documentation for the court to review, you need to send each other copies too. Okay. Just as an aside, in the future, you got to make sure that if you send me anything you want me to look at, Miss Reed, and if Miss Reed wants to send me anything to look at, she's got to send you a copy. Okay, but so, ma'am, I'm looking at a July 21st, 2023 police report from the Fraser police, and indicates that. And what is the name and ages of your 2 children? Why don't we start there?
Jackson, 12, and then Ashton, and he's 6.
All right. So the police indicate, and I'm just going to read this. It's pretty brief in its entirety. It says, the police officer indicates that Jackson advised that Holly Reed had been verbally abusive to him, telling him to go F yourself. It's in its entirety. Jackson and Ashton both advised that Holly was intoxicated and had consumed a bottle, approximately a fifth of clear alcohol like vodka. Upon making contact with Miss Reed, I observed a strong odor of intoxicants coming from her breath, in addition to her slurred speech and difficulty with understanding. Holly was likely unable to care for the children at that time. The children were returned to their father without incident at Miss Reed's permission.
First of all,
do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I did not drink a fifth of liquor. I'd probably be dead. I had 2 beers. I probably did smell like beer. I would never tell my kids to F off. I don't know
Okay.
where they got that from, honest to God.
So you take issue with the police officer saying that he felt you were too intoxicated to care for the children?
I did. When the police officer left my home, he asked my little son, 6-year-old Ashton, if he would like to stay. And of course, he's going to follow suit with his older brother because that's what he always does. And he wanted to go.
Mhm.
But they asked me, so I don't understand why you would ask somebody if you thought that I was so intoxicated.
Okay. Do you take issue with the police officer, I shouldn't say cop, pardon my French, saying that you had slurred speech and difficulty understanding what the police officer was saying?
I do not. I felt like they were invasive and rude to me, and I was trying to do my best to just cooperate, and that's all I could do.
Okay. So you disagree with the police report, and it's okay if you do.
I do.
I just want to be clear.
I do.
Okay. So then Mr. Abercrombie sends me some text messages from May saying that there's something wrong with your breathalyzer and you don't know why it was saying you were intoxicated when you weren't.
Yeah, and I didn't get the kids, and I ordered a new breathalyzer and had to pay for it.
Okay. So let me ask this. In this last 2 months, have you taken any breathalyzers over the last couple of months?
I mean, no, because who am I going to
Okay.
breathalyze? I would. I have no problem doing it. I have no problem paying to do it.
Okay. Have you talked to the kids on the phone or anything?
Every
in the
day I
last 2
talk to them,
months?
basically, whether it's
Okay.
text, video call, or phone call.
Okay. So, Mr. Abercrombie, what's your position regarding parenting time? What are you asking the court to do in regards to parenting time? So, guys, there's a few issues before the court before you answer. The first issue is the parenting time that's not happened for 2 months in that order. And then the second issue is Ms. Reed's request to modify custody and parenting time. Those are two different issues. So one issue is the denial for 2 months and where we go from there. And then we'll get to the request to modify. So, Mr. Abercrombie, what's your position regarding parenting time right now?
Well, I feel that, if I were to let the kids go there, they'd be in danger. I mean, the courts have put safety measures in effect where she's supposed to blow on the breathalyzer before and after. And I mean, I think that police report is proof that she blew and went right home with the kids and decided to get drunk and put their lives in danger. And I feel
So let me play devil's advocate. Let's say she's drunk. How has she put the kid's life in danger? Is the fact that someone's intoxicated necessarily mean that your children's lives are in danger? Maybe if she's driving, but what if she's at home not driving?
Well, I mean, I guess if you were, slightly intoxicated, that their lives wouldn't be in danger. But that in particular day, there was a fair across the street. My children told me they were almost hit by 2 cars because she was so intoxicated, not paying attention. She was at a very busy fair, gave the 12-year-old money and said, "Go get lost. I'll meet you in a half hour." And he's, I don't think that is right. When he came back, his mother was nowhere to be found, and he found some police officers. They circled the fair for an hour before they could even find Holly Reed. And when they first got there, she's yelling at the kids, "You almost got me in trouble," and started swearing at them.
And tell me again and remind me of the date that you allege that occurred at.
That was 7/21, the same day as the police report.
All right. So, ma'am, do you want to comment on that? He's alleging that the police searched for you to help your son locate.
They
you
did.
for
I was in the
approximately an hour.
bathroom. All of this is just too much for me. I was in the bathroom. I said, "Stay here. I'll be right back." 10 to 12 minutes. Sorry,
And then they were
my
gone
kids
when
have
you
never
came
been
out.
alone. And as far as being intoxicated, they're high 24/7, him and his wife, driving my children around, stoned as heck all the time. So am I saying something about that? I mean,
Well,
I don't
know you.
understand. What's
I'm
the
listening to
difference?
both of you. Well, we'll take one thing at a time. So, going back to July 21st, how did the police end up wandering around for an hour trying to find you if the kids were told to just wait outside the bathroom for you?
It wasn't an hour, and they weren't outside the bathroom. They were on a bench.
Okay, so what happened? What happened?
I said, "I'm going to the
How
bathroom."
did they end up with the police? How did they end up with the police?
He must have got scared or something. I have no idea. And I would never tell my kids to F off. So I don't know where the police get this
So,
from.
sir, did you call the police at the fair? Did the kids call you and then you called the police?
No, the police were already at the fair, and my son went to the spot where his mother told him to meet, and she was not there, and he waited for a long time, and she never showed. So he didn't know what else to do, but he seen some police walking around the fair. So he went running up to them, and the police officer said, "Stick with us. We'll circle the fair, and hopefully we see your mom." And after, quite a long time, they actually located her, and the kids.
So were both kids together, or only one was with the police and one was with mom?
She had Ashton and Jackson was by himself.
Okay. And ma'am, where was Ashton? Was he on the bench with Jackson when you went to the bathroom?
No. He came with me.
So where? Oh, to the bathroom. Okay. All right.
Jax is 12. He can sit by himself for 10 minutes, 15
Okay,
minutes at the
I'm
most.
just trying to figure out what was going on here, guys. And how of the telephone call? So, sir, she's saying she's talking to the kids every day for 2 months. You're saying that she shouldn't be able to reinitiate her parenting time? How have the calls gone? Did they go well when she talks to him every day?
No, in fact, I did want to mention that I did tell her I was going to keep the kids until we go to court because they did instruct me if she broke, the agreement drinking. Well,
okay, I got that. The question is, she said she's been talking to them every day on the phone for 2 months since you've said no more parenting time. Has she been talking to them every day, and have those phone calls went okay?
No, they have not been every day. She does talk to them often, but on one of the days, she had a video chat. And she's literally having a seizure right on the phone while the kids are talking to her. And so I called her mother and said, hey, she's having a seizure. And so the kids are witnessing her having seizure.
And what day was that?
That I'm not exactly sure, but it would have probably been a week or two after July 21st. So maybe early August.
And did her mom go to her house and talk to you and say what happened after that?
No, her mother was in Alaska, so she was going to reach out to the family and see if they could send someone over there because Holly said she didn't want anybody there. And I said, well, we're literally witnessing her having seizures. We were a little worried about her. The kids were crying and all freaked out.
It was a mild issue that I was having.
So,
and what was the issue? What was the issue that you were having?
I was having a mild seizure, but it wasn't like nothing to freak out about. And it was.
Have you had a seizure disorder for a length of time, a long period of time?
I've been getting it looked into right now, and I have to go back and get more tests done and everything else.
So it's not related to alcohol use or the abuse of alcohol?
It usually is, but I have not been drinking like that. So I don't understand why my body would do that. So that's why I've been going to the doctors and trying to get to the bottom of things.
Are you currently employed or not employed?
I'm doing training right now. I'm training right now to become employed. I have to get certifications and certain things to.
Are you doing that through Michigan Works or another program or?
Yeah, I go through Michigan Works. But no, this company wants to hire me, but I have to do training for a few weeks.
And what kind of work will that potentially be?
It's in a shop.
Okay. And is that historically the kind of work you've done in the past?
I've worked in, it will be quality control. So yeah, I have done that.
And guys, how far do you live apart? What city do each of you live in? Remind me where each of you lives, city-wise.
I live in Fraser.
I live in Detroit.
The ghetto.
Okay. And when you guys were doing the parenting time, was Miss Reed coming to get the kids or you were dropping them off? How was that working?
A little bit of mixture of both. And I was having a fear because I would disagree with what Mrs. Reed said. When she has a seizure, I would say at least 9 out of 10 times it's because she decided to try and quit drinking. She drinks so heavily. Within the first couple of days, she typically has a seizure. And there have been multiple incidents where I'm dropping the kids off and she's shaking like crazy. And then you're hearing the story. She's had multiple seizures recently. I don't feel she should even be driving with the kids. I mean,
I don't understand how you know my health history and my health issues right now. You know nothing. We don't even communicate at all, period.
I mean, I've known you for almost 20 years and I've seen.
I know, but we don't communicate, period, right now, and we haven't in months. I talk to your wife, not you.
So well, let me ask this. Do you call the kids or do you FaceTime with the kids?
I do both.
Or use some kind of virtual?
And yeah, it might not be every single day, but I do text them every single day. And usually it's FaceTime. Either my son will call me or I will call him.
Well, no, I think the point is, and Mr. Abercrombie can correct me if I'm wrong, is that he sees you, he's seen you on these virtual visits with the kids, and he's familiar over years of whether he feels that you're struggling with alcohol from his personal experience. Am I getting that wrong, Mr. Abercrombie, or is that what you mean when you're saying you're seeing her?
Yeah, that's definitely, you're right.
So what do you think the parenting time should be right now? I mean, so she's saying I've gone 2 months. I'll restart the PBT out breathalyzer.
I'll
What
go
do you
pay
think the
for
parenting
it.
time should be?
I'll do it 3 times during a visit. I'll do it whenever you want to call me, and I will blow for you. I have no problem. I have no problem going to the drug place and paying the $12 to go back 7 days to prove to you that I'm not drinking, period.
Well, I feel, I mean,
Well, so guys, there is a private sober link, but it's about $127 a month. It's a non-quarter. You can get a sober link, but there's a monthly fee. So that would be another option. I don't know if that's less expensive than each time. How much are each one of these tests if you go to a testing center?
I mean, that's only $12. So if I did it twice a week, that covers 7 days, 5 to 7 days. So it would show if I had anything to drink, period, for the whole time.
And sir, do you work Monday through Fridays? What's your schedule?
You know, I typically work 6 days a week, and even sometimes I'm on call to work 7.
What's the day that you don't work on usually?
Sunday.
Okay.
And I would like to point out, Mrs. Reed, we decided that her very first week with the kids, we switched it around because of the way things were before versus the new agreement. And her very first weekend would have been May 10th. No, I'm sorry, weekend would have been 5/13 and 5/14, which was Mother's Day. So this is going to be her first weekend with the children. And that's the messages I sent you showing that she was registering on that Saturday where she was going to see the kids. And then I even offered her, I said, you know what, Holly, get your stuff together. The kids are going to be really upset. I go, tomorrow's Mother's Day. They made you cards and stuff. And you can see the message there saying that her machines broke at 8 a.m. and blah, blah, blah. That was basically her way of saying.
Okay. All right. I saw it. So let me say this, and I'm not trying to be mean. So ma'am, it sounds like, would you acknowledge that you're an alcoholic?
I am. I'm always going to be.
Okay.
Always, the rest of my life.
Okay. So, and I appreciate that, you saying that. So obviously, and I've done this, guys, 25 years. I was a private family law attorney before I came to the court. The concern of the court is that if you have any kind of alcohol problem, that you're addressing it, you're working to stay sober. Sometimes that may not be successful, but it doesn't mean that you don't love your children. The question is if you're using, does it affect you to the extent that it's emotionally traumatic for your children or puts them at a safety risk? Doesn't mean you don't love your children. It's not a matter of love. It's a matter of the realities of an alcoholism and does it affect them emotionally or put them at harm, for instance, if you're driving intoxicated. So I count on you guys to be forthright with me as to what's going on. It's hard for me. I'm in a hard place when I have Mr. Abercrombie saying, listen, we were together a long time. I know when I feel she's using and she's having these seizures and you're saying it's not true. That puts me in a really tight tug of war. And the PBT testing is the safeguard. And he has the messages. And of course you didn't send them to her. She doesn't know what I'm looking at. That the first weekend you're like, I don't know what's wrong with this machine. There's something wrong with it, saying it's blowing that the breathalyzer saying I'm intoxicated when I'm not. You understand that the court may be skeptical of that. And then I have a police report from July where the cops say you're intoxicated, you're slurring and having difficulty understanding them. And you saying that's not true. That puts me in a hard place because one, you're saying, hey, I'm blowing positive, but hey, there's something wrong with the machine. And two, the cops aren't telling the truth. So ma'am, I need you in your heart of hearts to tell me how you are doing. I don't want you to whitewash and say, if you're having a hard time, let me know. And what are you doing to stay sober?
Honestly, yeah, it's not like easy. I'm not going to say that it's like a walk in the park. I'm working with the people that care right now.
Do you have a sponsor? Or
I have
a sponsor?
A recovery coach.
Okay.
That
When's the last time you drank?
It's been just like maybe shortly after that incident because I was depressed and that was it. And I've been seeing my recovery coach, going to therapy. I do as many online AA meetings as I can right now with this training. And usually I don't have an issue finding one when I get out of here because there's so many.
So here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of total suspension of support. It's in this order. If this order had flown by me, we probably would have looked for alternatives. I'm not a big fan of suspending parenting time. I mean, I said support, I meant parenting time because somebody, is it a concern? Then we talk about what we're talking about now. What are the effects? Is it to the extent that the children are emotionally traumatized or scared? Is it to the extent that they're being put at risk? But it's also not good to have zero parenting time. Because, for instance, one thing other than total suspension is supervision. I'm not a fan of parenting time being suspended when there's other avenues such as supervised or now going back to PBT testing and getting back on a stepped up parenting time. I'm not a fan of this no parenting time. I don't think it's beneficial. There's negatives of that as well. So, sir, you've heard her. She's saying, I've been sober now ever since this happened. I'll go back to the PBT testing. What does that affect your position? Not affect it? What are your thoughts?
I feel like I know Mrs. Reed well, and I could tell that she's even drinking right now as we speak.
I'm at work. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Are you kidding me? This has been
do you
too
think
much.
but let me ask this, but do you think if she's been drinking that deprives her of having any right to see her children at all?
I feel that it should be in a different setting to where there's no way she could really endanger them or has to drive, maybe like to consider like a DHS.
DHS is not available to the family court. That's only if you have an abuse neglect case, and that's not what's going on here.
I mean, the courts, kind of told her like these are like your last chances, kind of with.
Okay, I don't know who told you. If another referee judge did that, we don't drop a hammer and say you fell off the wagon and you used drugs or alcohol, and as a punishment, we deprive you from ever seeing your kids again. If anyone inferred that, that certainly was not me. And that is, we don't take that hammer and say you fell off the wagon again and you're struggling. My concern is that if Miss Reed, you're having a problem, you get the help you need for yourself, for your child, for everything. But there's also negatives to totally depriving children of seeing their parent. And it sounds like these kids, your children, either on their own or with advice of other people, have become little reporters. And that's not a bad thing, because then they can tell dad, if ma'am, you've been drinking, and they become aware to it. And that's some of the realities of children of alcoholics. They got to be taught coping mechanisms and how to be safe as well. But I'd like there to be parenting time started up again. And ma'am, what is your work schedule? You don't have a work schedule right now?
Right now I'm here. I've been here I work till 5.
And what days of the
Fridays week? I get off at 2 if we work. Normally we're not supposed to, but we've been. And Saturday.
But you work Monday through. Okay,
Monday.
You work Saturdays and Sundays?
No, I do not. I'm off.
Okay, you're Monday through Friday.
Technically, it's Monday through Thursday, but right now we are working half a day on Friday till 2.
Okay. All right. And what's your living situation? Are you living alone? Do you have a significant other children?
I've been staying just at my boyfriend's house of 4.5 years.
And everybody in this family probably, you know her boyfriend if it's been 4.5 years, right? You don't have to be best friends, but you know who that is and where they live.
Yes, they're usually off and on, and I never took them serious because she's usually messing around on him and stuff.
Okay, that's not my question.
He knows everything in my life.
That's not my question. Do you have any issue with her boyfriend?
Yeah, he's a known felon for counterfeiting money. He's a criminal.
So we're not getting anywhere here right now. All right. So guys, I'm going to do a recommendation in a temporary order. You have 21 days to object. If no one objects within 21 days, this remains the order of the court. Objecting is your right under the law. At an objection hearing, the Honorable Terry Lynn Denny's may uphold my order or change all or part of it, and her decision as the judge is the final say. So the following is my recommendation. 1, on a temporary basis, defendant is awarded parenting time on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 2, defendant shall take a breathalyzer at the initiation of her parenting time, with the results being provided to plaintiff.
Can I say one thing? I'm willing to FaceTime him, do it in front of my sons, whatever. I will do it like 4 times during the visit. I have no issue with that.
Okay.
Just stating that for the record.
Okay. 3, on a temporary basis, plaintiff shall provide the transportation to effect defendant's parenting time. Neither party may drive with the minor child in a vehicle after consuming alcohol. And I'm just going to put parens a minimum of 12 hours from consuming on parens period. I'm going to put 5. The matter of parenting time is referred to the front of the court for facilitation with the front of the court custody department. If that is unsuccessful, parenting time shall be referred for referee evidentiary hearing. And ma'am, asking for equal parenting time would be tantamount to a modification of custody. So I'm going to indicate that. However, when it comes to custody, there's not been a sufficient change of circumstances. So defendant's request to modify custody is denied.
Yeah, no,
So
I
parenting time is
figured
different.
we would have to
Parenting time is
start.
different than custody.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So guys, you both have 21 days to object. However, this is an order of the court at this time. If you don't like it, you guys have to, you have 21 days to object. We're going to email you a copy of this order and the objection procedure. Again, I don't get mad. The judge doesn't get mad. It's your right to object if either one of you doesn't like the order. And at the time of the judicial hearing, the judge, whatever she orders is the final say. Whether she adopts it, changes it, she's the boss and she's the one who makes the final order. All right.
Okay.
All right. So guys, this order starts immediately this Sunday.
Okay.
I'm going to indicate you're to maintain liberal and reasonable rights to telephone and/or virtual contact with the minor children as well, which is what you've been doing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If either one of you wants to object, and Mr. Thompson, you filed 3 motions for custody, parenting time, and support, but they were all blank. So generally, you have to attach a piece of paper indicating what the change of circumstances is and why you're asking for a change of custody. All you have is on your notice of hearing, change of custody and support. So what are you requesting, sir, from the court and why?
Well, first I wanted to ask for a reduction due to my occupancy change. I haven't worked in like 2.5 years. We had like a review and I told the lady that and I thought she was going to change it, but nothing changed. And
okay.
Now I got a letter. Well, I got 2 letters. One letter said I owe like $59. And I just received a letter 2 days ago. It said I owe like $6,300.
Okay. Yep. If your case is charging and you didn't get a reduction and didn't get an order changing it, it's probably still charging at the previously ordered amount. Okay. And so tell me about the custody and parenting time. What are you asking in regards to that?
I want physical custody and it stay the same. Joint custody, I just have physical, but
what is the current custody order right now? You guys have a judgment entered or an order on October 18th of 2021 that awarded you guys joint custody of your 2 children. And Liliana's 8 and King is now 6. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. And it ordered you, sir, parenting time on the weekends and Miss Elko parenting time every Monday through Friday. Is that the schedule you guys have followed since 2021 or no?
Not
No,
really.
it's not.
Okay. So I'll ask you one at a time. So first I'll ask Mr. Thompson, and ma'am, even if you don't agree with it, I'm going to have you hold off and then I'll let you respond. So sir, what is the schedule you assert you've been following?
Pretty much whatever fit. I pick them up from school. I've taken them to school. They stay the night to go to school. Or some weekends they don't come. They stay with her. I see them through the week.
So in a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly period of time, how many days would you say each of you has?
About half and half.
Okay. And what city do each of you live in? How close are you guys together to get the kids back and forth to school?
We were both living in East Point.
Okay. And how about now?
She don't live in East Point no more.
And when do you allege that changed?
About June, July, maybe.
Okay. Were you guys back together until June or July as a couple or no?
No.
Okay. Okay. You were living in separate addresses. And what school did the kids go to? Did they go to school at East Point? And so what is the schedule you're asking for from the court? You just want it to keep being how it is, where you guys just work it out every day or every week or what?
I want physical custody and
so you want them full time? You're asking to have them placed with you full time?
Yes.
Why is that?
The same thing I said last time. I feel like I'm not saying I'm the better parent. I'm saying I feel I can provide more stability and support for the children.
What? How so? What is she not providing them with?
They live in a shelter right now.
Okay. So Ms. Alco, what is your position as to everything? What's your response to his request?
Yes, we live in a shelter right now and we're being placed within the next couple of weeks inside of a townhouse in East Point. And I've taken care of them the whole entire time. They've been with me the whole entire time. They go back and forth to their dad's house. I didn't know that he wanted to have physical permanent custody of them. I didn't know that's what it was.
So what would you like the arrangement to be?
I would like it to still be how it is, that his payments, because of his job, he does not no longer have the job that he was having, and they were taking so much from him, and it needed to be revised, and
Okay.
I thought we were going to be able to still parent how we've been.
Okay, so if you guys can't agree, the court generally wants to do a schedule. So for instance, I know, sir, you want them primarily with you. If they were primarily with you, what would you want Ms. Alco's schedule to be?
We can do the same thing.
Well, you said that you have half the time, and that would be joint custody.
That's what we have now. She just has physical. It says we have joint custody. She just has physical.
Or do you guys both have joint legal and physical?
I'm not sure about that part.
Yeah, so your order from, guys, your
I believe we
order.
both have joint physical.
Okay, no, it does say that physicals with mom. It does say that. It does say that. You're right. So it says joint legal physical with mom in your October 18th, 2021 order. So ma'am, so let me ask this. So you guys are in court. Court doesn't usually make people happy, but if you did not have a specific schedule, do you guys think that after court today, you can keep working it out? So for instance, here's one of the options. If you don't want a specific schedule and are in agreement, I could say you're just your joint legal and physical custody with equal parenting time, meaning through the month, you should each have about 15 days and leave it to work it out. If you can't work it out, then the court has to get more specific and say week on, week off, or 2 days, and alternate the weekend. So there's all different options. If you guys just want to say we want joint custody with equal time sharing and you think you can work it out, I won't deny you that. If you don't think you can work it out, then you need to do a specific schedule. Then I'll do something today and refer it for a hearing on another date. Now I'm going to do that for support anyways, because we need to review support, but I don't have time on a busy motion day to do the support. So that's going to have to get referred for another date. But the question I have for you guys is, do you want a specific schedule, or do you guys want an order that says joint physical custody with equal time sharing and you guys work out the schedule?
That's what I agree upon. I don't know what he wants.
I agree with that equal time joint custody.
So you think you guys can work out that each having equal days throughout the month, and they might be random, but you guys will talk about it? Are you okay with that?
We kind of already.
I am.
Okay. Well, I can do a temporary order, and you guys, no matter what, so if you do a consent order, you waive the right to object. If you want me to do that on a temporary basis and have 21 days to think about it and see if you want to object and go in front of the judge, we can do it that. That's probably the best way to do it. If you're fine with it, then you can just leave it and it'll stay in place. Or do you want to make a final order today that says joint custody, equal time sharing, and you'll come back to review what support should be? What are you guys' thoughts?
We can do that. Equal time sharing.
Yeah, I believe that's fair.
Okay, so sir, that means you've moved your position from a majority of the time to equal. You feel comfortable with that?
That's fair.
And you think you both think this is in the best interest of your children? You guys have to tell me if you do, yes or no.
Yes,
No.
I do.
So sir, you said no?
No.
Well, if you say no, I can't make it a consent order. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a temporary order. So guys, listen, I'm going to do a temporary order. You are both going to have 21 days to an objection hearing. The Honorable Terry Lynn Dennings, that's who your judge is. Judge Witowski retired, your previous judge. Your judge is now Terry Lynn Dennings. It's a lady. You can Google her, look her up. She's a very nice lady, and she's now your judge. At an objection hearing, she'll decide if she agrees with me or wants to change all or part of my order. And as the judge, she's the boss. She's the final say. So based on what you're saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say on a temporary basis, the parties shall exercise equal parenting time per mutual agreement. Since you guys have been doing that, I'll just leave it up to keep going. I'm going to refer the issues of custody, parenting time, and support for a referee hearing. That's almost like a mini trial. You can testify on your own behalf, or you guys can call witnesses. At the minimum, your support's going to get modified. And if you guys can't agree, then you'll have an opportunity to present witnesses and testimony if you guys don't want to agree on custody and parenting time. If between now and when the hearing comes up, and it's probably going to take 4 to 6 weeks or so, if you guys walk into that hearing and you have an agreement, the court is not going to fight with you as parents. The court's going to do what you guys want. So if you come in and say, okay, we've talked joint legal and physical, she gets this townhouse, you're feeling more comfortable with her living situation, and you come in and say, yep, we're cool with joint legal, joint physical, equal time sharing, that's what the court will do. If you don't want to agree, then you have a right to the full hearing, and you can present witnesses, testimony, whatever you want to do on that date, and then the court will make a recommendation as to all those issues. Is that confusing, or does that make sense, guys?
I understand.
It makes sense to me. I understand, but I'm not understanding why on his end he hasn't spoken to me with this, because we usually co-parent pretty well together.
So,
the kids have
I'm
unsafe environment. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to encourage you guys to. I've done this a long time, 25 years as a private divorce attorney before I came to the court, so I've been on both sides of the courtroom. Sometimes parents don't want to get into a difficult conversation. What I've heard is that right now Mr. Thompson's not comfortable with the living situation, that he doesn't think it's ideal that you're in a shelter. Now that may or may not be relevant to the court. But what the court's concerned is that the kids are healthy, safe, and, you know, shelters aren't necessarily bad. So what I'm going to say is, even though you might not agree as to that issue, ma'am, you say you agree, realize that sometimes people don't agree, and it doesn't mean that they're saying the other person's a bad person. They're not saying it to attack the other person. And I don't get that sense. I get the sense that Mr. Thompson doesn't think this is an ideal situation, but he may change his mind once you get in this townhouse. So by the time this hearing comes up, if you're in the townhouse, you know, within the next 4 to 6 weeks, maybe you guys will walk in and he'll say, hey, that townhouse looks great. I don't have this concern, and we can do the joint. Or he might say, no, by my heart of hearts, I want to go forward. But I'm going to encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing because you've been working together well. Don't let your dispute over this today snowball into causing problems and fights and all that. Does that make sense?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so guys, so right now you're going to continue to do what you're doing. I'm going to refer custody, parenting time, and support. How long do you guys think you've been sharing equal parenting time?
Since we've broken up.
For about 5 years, 5+.
So ever since that 2021 order?
Yeah. Before.
All right. I'm just going to put in here parens. Parties acknowledge they've been sharing equal parenting time for in excess of 2 years. I'm going to put end parens period. That's just a little aside. So whoever does the hearing, if I do it, I'll remember. It may go to someone else, guys. I'm going off for a month for a medical leave for surgery. So you may not get me. You may get me when I come back, but I'll be back the beginning of November. Or you may get another referee to do your hearing, just so you know. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Do you guys have any questions? Yep. Go ahead. Yep.
Oh, no, I don't have any questions. I want to tell you something. I know you probably can't get into the details about your surgery. After the fact of your surgery, you need to invest in a juicer and stay heavy on melons, cucumbers, melons, watermelons, and berries.
Okay.
It's testing for you, and stay away from.
I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate that. I take that in, and whatever advice you can give me from your experience or knowledge, I thank you for it. Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. You guys do have 21 days. So if you decide you don't like what I just ordered, you have 21 days to object. You will get the objection procedure with this order. And if you have any procedural questions on how to process it and get it scheduled with the judge, you're welcome. Mr. Peters or Miss Prince, you guys refer this referee back on August 28, 2023, at which time, Mr. Prince, you filed the present DP action. And at that time, I dismissed it, indicating you needed to file this action under the DS case between Miss Peters and Mr. Zaya. You again have filed this motion under this case. Is there a reason you filed it under this case and not Miss Peters and Mr. Zaya's DS case?
Well, when I went to the court, they were still instructing me that I couldn't file under the DS case. So
who told you that? Who told you that?
One of the clerks
at the courthouse or here at the front of the court?
No, at the courthouse. I haven't been to the front of the court.
Yeah, I don't know why the clerk's office is making legal determinations, because I would disagree with them. But I'm going to view it as filed under the DS case to be a third party intervener under that case, because I do not believe it should be brought as a separate paternity action. I think it should be brought as an action with the DS. But I'm going to indicate that it's to be viewed as a motion for revocation under the previous DS case. And I know, guys, that's confusing because you're getting told one thing by the clerks and I'm telling you another. But I just want to make clear, because there's an established custody, parenting time, and support on the DS case between Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya, this is properly under that case, because you're intervening as a third party saying, I want Mr. Zaya's established paternity revoked. So I will respectfully disagree with the clerk's office, and I'll take this up for them. August 28, 2023, Mr. Prince and Ms. Peters appeared before this referee, sir, on the same action. You filed a paternity action asserting you were the biological parent of minor child Chloe, and Chloe is 2. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
All right. And however, there is a previous support case, and on August 30th, 2022, a judgment of support was entered between Ms. Peters as the plaintiff and Mr. Zaya as the defendant, finding him to be the father, giving him custody and parenting time rights, and ordered him to pay Ms. Peters support. So paternity has been established of Chloe. Now, the testimony is that Mr. Prince and Ms. Peters took a DNA test. And in fact, Mr. Zaya is not Zia, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, is not the biological parent. Mr. Prince, you are. And has everyone acknowledged that the DNA tests show that Mr. Prince is the bio parent? Yeah. Or is that not agreed to? Okay. All right. So here's the interesting thing. So I'm going to have a kind of a heart to heart with everybody here, but kind of where you're at. So the Revocation of Parenting Time Act, or I'm not Parenting Time, Revocation of Paternity Act allows Mr. Prince as the bio dad, because you acknowledge he is Chloe's biological parent. If she is under 3 years of age, he can bring an action and say, I want a hearing. I want to be established as the parent and revoke Mr. Zaya's paternity or his establishment as the legal parent. The rough thing is the court says that there has to be an evidentiary hearing for everybody to submit witnesses and evidence of whether the court feels it's in the best interest to revoke Mr. Zaya's paternity of Chloe, because he's not the bio dad. We all acknowledge that. You guys acknowledge that, and give Mr. Prince rights to custody and parenting time. So here's the reality. You guys have a right to that hearing, and I'm going to refer it for that hearing today. But this is the reality of what you guys have to think about. You will have to show that Mr. Prince, if for some reason it's in Chloe's best interest that he have no rights and that Mr. Zia remain established as the legal father, even though he's not biological. Under the support judgment, he's deemed the dad, he's a legal dad, and for some reason, Mr. Prince should be denied that right, even though he's the bio dad. Probably going to be a hard argument to make to the court to prevent him from having any kind of rights. But it puts you guys in a rough situation because Mr. Zia, you're with Miss Peters and you've been raising Chloe as yours. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And even though you're not her bio dad, you would like to remain her legal parent and have the rights as a parent to her.
Yes.
Even knowing that Mr. Prince is her dad.
Yes.
So let me ask this. So Miss Peters, how do you see what would be your perfect outcome, not taking into consideration what the law may or may not say? What would be your perfect outcome in this situation going forward with Chloe, Mr. Prince, and Mr. Zia?
Going forward, I would want Kevin Zia to remain the legal father and have rights of Chloe. During that time from December to April, Mr. Prince has showed concerns on my behalf of just not being a present father. Like when I would ask him things, when Chloe is in his presence, he feels that it's an issue. I shouldn't ask questions. As far as simple questions like, oh, what does she eat? We just couldn't see eye to eye on things. And me and his sister has had some issues as well. And ever since December, it has always been issues. It's been drama. It has brought drama into our household, our relationship dealing with Mr. Prince and his family. And at this time,
why did you tell Mr. Prince he was the bio dad and have this DNA test?
I reached out to him on Facebook Messenger and asked him if he could take a DNA test. I don't know why.
She didn't look mixed.
Because she didn't look mixed. That's the reason why. Why is it not?
Okay. And you can still hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
So guys, I think we all acknowledge this is a complicated situation. But the reality is here, I will refer this for a hearing, but the hearing is going to be that, Ms. Peters, it's going to fall on you to argue in Mr. Zia that somehow it is against Chloe's best interest to recognize her bio dad and give him rights. That's probably going to be tough, but I'm going to refer this for that hearing. You have a right to that hearing and to argue that it's not her best interest to revoke Mr. Zia's paternity and establish Mr. Prince. In the meantime, that hearing is not going to come up for probably 6 weeks or so. You guys are welcome to keep talking, brainstorming on what you think would be a good resolution of this. And we will then
sir,
set
am
this
I
for
able
the
to
hearing. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's definitely always two sides to a story. I did not know that I had a 2-year-old daughter until December. Now that I know I have a 2-year-old daughter, Miss Peters is upset with me because I won't do what she say. I won't be in a relationship with her. She's told me countless times how she doesn't want to be with Mr. Zia. She wants to be with me, about all the domestic issues that they're having, all the substance abuse issues that he's having. How would I know all of this? Because Miss Peters has told me. And since she can't dictate my life and how I parent my child, she takes her away from me. Anytime I don't do what she says. And once again, how
often were you seeing Chloe?
I was seeing her every week since December.
And
I haven't
you were
seen her
for an
since
afternoon,
April.
a day, or was that for hours? Was that an afternoon? That was a day.
Mornings and evenings. And then I would drop her off late evening. I haven't seen my daughter in 5 months. 5 months.
Okay.
She thinks that this is I don't know if she thinks this is a joke. This is a life that we're dealing with. At this point, she doesn't want me to have rights. Why? This is my child. This is my bloodline.
Okay.
This is not a joke. So I'm here fighting for my child. And they are trying to take my child away from me and don't want me to be a part of my child's life. How is that fair? Because we're having a disagreement.
Okay. So you made your
child's life.
Okay. You made your point, guys. Guys, listen. You made your argument.
I'm just asking a question. Is that fair?
Stop. I said stop. When I say stop, stop. You've made your argument. I've made the point at the beginning of this hearing about the legal reality of this situation. You've made your argument. You're saying you think it's in your child's best interest, in so many words, not using those words, that you have a right as a father, and that whatever inaction
At this point,
she
I'm
alleges
fearing for my child's life.
You're fearing for your child's life. Why?
Yes, because of what Ms. Peters have told me about.
Have you called child protective services or law enforcement?
I spoke to them.
And what did they do?
They went by. They did a wellness check. Definitely.
Okay. So
that was
they
CPS.
didn't
They sent the St. Clair Shores police over here.
Oh my goodness! Once again, so I can't have rights to my child.
Sir,
I can't be in my child's life.
Bring it down. I know everybody's passionate. This is a court of law. Bring the tone
No one is in
down.
my shoes. No one is in my shoes.
Mr. Prince, stop yelling at me, or in the future, you guys are going to come in person. I'm not going to give you the ability to be remote and yell and scream. I can listen to you at a calm level.
Okay. I would rather come in person.
Court tends to be passionate, but guys, this is a court of law. Whether you think someone's good, bad, a liar, a criminal, you don't get to yell and scream in a courtroom. I can listen to you be calm. I get that you're passionate. I get you say you are the bio parent. I know you're the bio parent. You are frustrated that suddenly you say you've been denied. I get it, but you don't get to yell at. I'm just going to stop. Anything else you want to say?
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to make my recommendation. You both have 21 days to object. We have this tug of war. So I'm going to consult with the clerk's office of why they keep refusing to let you file under the case that I say you're supposed to file under, and I'm going to resolve that issue. So as far as this motion today, and I take it nobody objected to the August 28th order that is going to dismiss this case. Making that for a no. All right, so I'm going to do a brief statement of facts again and see if we can get this to where it needs to be. All right. All right. On August 30th, 2022, a default judgment of support was entered between plaintiff Rihanna Peters and defendant Kevin Zia, assigned to the Honorable Tracy A. Jokic. Pursuant to that judgment, plaintiff Ms. Peters and defendant Mr. Zia were awarded joint legal custody of minor child Chloe, currently age 2, with physical custody being awarded to plaintiff. Defendant Mr. Zia was awarded reasonable rights to parenting time in order to pay child support. On August 28th, 2023, plaintiff Shantez Prince and defendant Courtney Peters appeared at motion hearing on plaintiff's request for custody of the parties, for establishment of paternity, custody, and parenting time of minor child Chloe. At that time, both Mr. Prince and Ms. Peters acknowledged that a DNA test has established that Shantez Prince is the biological parent of Chloe by 99.999% probability. On August 28, 2023, an order entered, or I'm sorry, recommended order entered that the DP action should be dismissed as pursuant to the Revocation of Paternity Act, MCL 722.1443. If an action for support, custody, or parenting time exists, an action under this act shall be brought in the instant case. As such, Mr. Prince was directed to file an appropriate action within the DS matter. Parties return for motion hearing on today's date. On the DP action, Evan Arzaya also appeared. Mr. Prince alleged that the clerk's office would not permit him to file within the DS action and advised that he again should file a motion in the DP action. This referee will deem the motion filed in the DP action as a motion to intervene in the DS action. It is again recommended that the DP action be dismissed and this matter proceed under the previous DS action between Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya, as referred for a referee evidentiary hearing as to whether that is in the best interest of Chloe. Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya testified that they do not believe it is in Chloe's best interest to establish paternity and bio father and object to the revocation of Mr. Zaya paternity of Chloe, although he acknowledges he is not her bio parent. Did we put that as a record? How did I just put it? Okay. So guys, I'm going to make this a recommended order with 21 days to object. I'm not going to adopt. I'm going to make sure that both judges Jokic and Dennings are competent and feel comfortable with this order. You both have 21 days to object. Should either one of those judges want this order amended, you will receive a copy of it as well as additional objection periods. Today, guys, are a little hint at what is going to be presented at that hearing. So you guys have to decide if there's any avenue that you guys, the three of you, can reach a consent agreement. If you can, that's great. If not, but that's the sense of what's going to be presented at this hearing, either just through the three of you or through your witnesses and testimony. But ma'am, it's going to be basically more or less your burden to show that it's in Chloe's best interest that her bio dad not have parenting time rights or that Mr. Zaya's paternity get revoked. It's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be tough. And Mr. Zaya, go ahead. See ya.
Well, what was that you said if we could come to some type of, what was that, agreement or something?
Yeah. So on that date, if you guys come in, so for instance, you could say, we thought about it. Chloe's young. We agree that Mr. Zaya be revoked. At that point, that would terminate your support obligation. You would no longer be the legal dad, and we'd establish Mr. Prince, and then we'd open the door for a new support action with Mr. Prince.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But so you guys have to think about what you want to have. I'm going to make sure that the judges are comfortable with me consolidating this in the DS and not leaving the DP going. If they have a different sense of what we should do, then we'll send you'll get another copy of the new order with an objection procedure. But I'm going to talk to the clerk's office and the judges and clear this up as to how they want this under the DP or DS. I believe it should be under the DS, but we'll see. If the judges say leave it under the DP, and if no questions, sir, we are here today on your motion requesting that Ms. Pasalaka would be held in contempt. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you, so this is your opportunity to explain to the court what you're requesting and why.
All right, so I'm looking to request that the court hold her in contempt of our court orders, as I've been cut out of the educational decision-making processes involving my son. Our court orders are outlined that I have joint legal custody, and this should be coming to a mutual agreement as far as schools. I would like this is a repeated situation involving alienating me from being a part of my son's life. And I think that sanctions are necessary at this point.
So, well, let me ask, how old is your son?
He's 3.5.
Okay, so guys, just so you know, under the law, preschool, what is called preschool is not technically what you would deem school. So preschool childcare with a learning element is not viewed as school under the law. So therefore, while people here called preschool, your child is not sufficient age yet to be in mandatory school, which is actually first grade. But the court, I'm going to be honest, applies it to kindergarten as well. But at 3.5, this is really childcare with a learning component, and therefore does not fall under, for instance, a debate over school district. This is childcare with basically childcare with a learning component. So does that change your position about things, or you take issue with where she's doing preschool or childcare?
I do. I believe it's a Greek Orthodox religious school. Like it's labeled as a Central Nursery School. They're conducting themselves as a school. So I think as our court orders read, I see what the court is saying preschool, but I do believe under joint legal custody, I do have a say in this because of the religious components of this as well.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, if you guys practice different religions, don't you both have a right? I mean, it can be confusing for a child, but let's say you guys married and you're two different religions and you guys go to different churches. For instance, let's say one of you is Jewish and one's Christian and one goes to church on Sundays and the other person on the weekend goes to the synagogue. As parents, if you're together, you have to decide how you want to handle that. When you're apart, it becomes more difficult. Clearly, this is what I will say to parents. It's hard if you are teaching your child two different religions. So I'm taking for granted you guys are not on the same page as far as religious studies or denomination or affiliation.
It's a religion that neither of us practice. It's a religion that neither of us practice. And I don't feel comfortable with him being involved in a religious school that neither of us practice. It may seem confusing to him.
But how much religious teachings do you think they're giving to a 3.5-year-old?
I'm not sure. And that's the thing. My basis of all of this, I've done extensive research into this school. As far as our options go, I believe that, and like I said, I mean, if I don't have any say in what kind of preschool, from our court orders, I've never had to deal with this. I've been financially drained. But
let me make a point. You have to. So this school may progress into elementary school. So do I take it for this Greek Orthodox? They do have an element there as well. Is that correct or wrong?
Yes. So,
and Ms. Pasalacqua, you can interject here too. Does this school progress into elementary school at some point, ma'am? And you guys are.
No, it's just a preschool, but he's in a transition room right now. He's too young for preschool. He's only in there 3 days a week, 3 hours a day. It's 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Okay. But he was trying to get me to send them to a school 5 minutes away where he just moved to in Ira Township. So that's what he's mad about.
Okay, and guys, I want you guys to take a pause. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. Even though this program may progress to elementary school, this is not school. Under the law, and what you guys are debating is not school. And I doubt that any preschool plan is teaching religious studies to a 3.5-year-old. If you can prove that to me, go for it. So people may use a parochial childcare center or childcare in a church that's not even affiliated with their denomination because it's a great childcare center. But that doesn't mean that she's going to make your child Greek Orthodox. It might be at this age, they have a great childcare center. And if they're okay with children coming there that are not members of their church because it's a great childcare, you guys have to view this as childcare. Your child's not at an age where they're going to be indoctrinated to any religious or religious study. So let me ask Ms. Pasalacqua how she selected this childcare, and if in any way she's going to be Greek Orthodox or move her child into Greek Orthodox school. And I don't know what her religious affiliation is, but let's start there. So ma'am, can you tell me how you picked this childcare center and why?
Yeah, so I actually went there. I have 8 other siblings as well. We all went there when we were growing up. It's a school in Grosse Pointe. I know all the teachers there. I know the people, I don't know, what do you call it, like the head of the school?
The director?
The directors of the school. I know everybody there, so it's kind of more comforting there. It is a great school. It's not even really school. It's just him getting used to socializing with other kids. They have an app that they update you on all their activities every day. The teachers talk to you on the app all day, every day.
Well, and again, you're talking to the preschool, the childcare providers, you're referring them as teachers, or you're talking when your child gets older, when you say teachers. So let me ask this, is your family Greek Orthodox?
We're Catholic.
But this childcare center does not, while it may be affiliated with that church, it doesn't make you be Greek Orthodox. And at that age, you're telling me.
No, they don't teach.
And so you're saying while your family you said is Catholic?
Yeah.
So you and your siblings all went to this childcare center that's affiliated with Greek Orthodox, even though you all are Catholic and grew up to be Catholic and literally just used it for childcare. And then what is your intent when your child hits kindergarten age?
I would like to send him to the Grosse Pointe schools. I was going to ask you, how does that work once he's of age? Because I'm sure this is going to be a disagreement. How is that going to work out?
So one of the things that's happening today is that, and this happens, so guys, don't think you're unique. So Mr. Wisnet, I don't think you're not. A lot of people misunderstand the term preschool as school. But under the law, school is kindergarten, first grade. You guys can have that debate when your child in the near future has to school. School is part of joint legal custody. You guys can litigate the school where your child attends. It's a little bit early because your child's not yet in full day or something looming. So you guys do have a looming debate if you guys cannot agree on where your child goes to kindergarten and first grade. Now, some people say kindergarten's not part of it. I disagree. I do kindergarten, whether the state says it's mandatory or not. I think it's important for you guys to agree because kindergarten usually progresses in the first grade. But as far as this right now, we're really talking debate over the childcare provider as compared to a school debate, which is upcoming. Your school debate's upcoming when your child hits 5 and is going to all-day kindergarten. That is looming. But in regards to today, I just want to make the differentiation. This is really not a school issue because Mr. Wisnet, as you've heard, she's not planning to change your child to Greek Orthodox. She's saying this childcare center was utilized by her whole family. They're all Catholic. This childcare center does not indoctrinate in a Greek Orthodox faith. The children are too young for that. Is this the first you're hearing that, or what's your position?
So my main issue here. It's not only just the decision making of the school. They are telling this school that they have full custody. I have the body cam footage of an incident where I went up to the school. I'm being excluded from the situation. I went up there to take pictures with him on his first day of preschool.
Okay.
She's telling the school that can I play the video for you of us being up
Well,
there?
no, not yet. You can't just play video. So tell me what you want to play a video about. So you started telling me you went the first day, you try to get photos, and what happened?
She called the St. Clair Shores Police with false allegations that I was causing a scene up there. And then the police ended up getting called up there in their response to this motion are filing complete false allegations and a recreation of the situation, trying to manipulate this court into making me seem like I'm some sort of like violent or loud or abusive person. This goes in direct relation to the allegation she made of false child abuse prior to this. They're denying me to even step foot on this property because they are under the assumption that she has full custody. She is convinced the school.
Well, what did you take the school a copy of your custody judgment?
So I brought it up there. I highlighted it, that where it says joint legal custody.
Yeah.
Her lawyer.
And what did they say? What did they say to you?
They said that this is different, that the paperwork that they are being submitted from her lawyer and herself state that she has full custody.
Referee, I mean, right now.
Go ahead, Mr. Price.
Thank you. All we're hearing is hearsay.
I have the video evidence of.
That's not what happened though, actually. You called.
Okay, so just a second, guys. So she has sole physical. Okay, so just a second. So schools sometimes don't follow the orders like they're supposed to. They get a little freaked out. Some schools, I don't know if this is one of them, of getting entrenched in parenting time disputes. But you're right. You have joint legal custody. You have full access to records, and you should be able to appear there. Now she has full physical, so they might be getting their semantics between joint legal and sole physical. So what are they saying? And I'll get to you, ma'am, in just a second. So Mr. Wisnet, what are they saying you can't do at the school? What is the school telling you?
So in order to prepare for this court date, I was looking to get the documents, and it's outlined in our custody agreement, page 8, paragraph E, that I should have full access to these documents that they have on file. The school is not willing to release these documents to me, and I have requested it multiple times from Mr. Price. He has agreed to have her sign. I'm not on any kind of emergency contacts. I'm not. He's
okay. But you realize. Let me add in here. In this motion, you go to great extent to take issue with Mr. Price. He's an attorney arguing on behalf of his client. He's not the court. He's not the school. He's not obligated to direct the school to do anything. He represents Ms. Pasalacqua. So expecting Mr. Price to tell them release stuff, if he wants to do that out of a courtesy, more power to him, but he's not obligated to do that. He's not obligated to intervene and tell the school, you're getting it wrong. You need to release this or that. That's not his job. If he wants to go the extra step and say, hey, I'm the attorney for the mom, do this, fine. But does that make sense?
Well, no, ultimately, and I don't mean to think that, I don't mean to put the burden on Mr. Price. She has directed me to deal with him. I've requested this from her as well. I've requested, multiple times, you're going to be going up there. Can you please add me onto the paperwork so I can get these documents? I've even gone to the extent to file my official request with the clerk's office, and I served it to her lawyer stating, I'm looking to get put on the documents so I can get copies of these documents. They are refusing in violation of page 8, paragraph.
Okay, but the point I'm making is your allegations are against Ms. Pasalacqua. Mr. Price represents her, but your issue is not with him. Your issue is with Ms. Pasalacqua, that she's not assisting you in getting the school to do what they're supposed to do. So what are the documents you want from the school that they're not giving you?
Any kind of documents. I mean, as far as being on an emergency contact, and that's what this thing about this is like, if there was an issue with my son up there, I should be at least be able to go up there and take pictures with him. I should at least be able to.
I agree.
I should at least be able to meet the teachers and see what's going on. I should at least be able to, be involved at this level. I mean, if they don't don't want me to be involved, and that's the problem. Like, I'm a father, and I would like to be there.
So what happened when you came to the school and got in a disagreement with them? How did the police end up there?
All right, so I showed up. I talked to Josie. I explained to her, my son has been dropped off. I would like to take a couple pictures with him. They said that I am his father. I did drop off my custody agreement, and they said we can't add you to the paperwork without her permission. So she went back in there. She contacted them. I guess Claudia called the police to have the police dispatched, saying that I was harassing them.
That's just a reminder. Now we have a hearsay within hearsay.
I got it. I'm going to ask Ms. Pesalacqua her side in a moment. So go ahead, sir. Tell me your side.
I have the body cam footage of this whole entire incident. It would be best that we just show it. That way, I'm not trying.
Okay. So let me ask this, Ms. Pesalacqua. What's your take? What is your position on what happened? He thinks you called the police. You got him in trouble and told them to never release information.
No. So Mike called the police first. The school called the police second because he was scaring them. Joni called me frantically, telling me that Mike showed up at the school trying to rip my son out of the school and that he does not give him permission to be there. And then I called the police afterwards to ask them when they were going to be there because I was just sitting up there. The school did not want to release him to him. It was his first day of school too. I had dropped him off. Mike is not paying for us. It's $395 a month. Mike is not paying for this. So I don't want to be paying for something when Mike thinks that he can just rip him right out of it within the first 30 minutes of him sitting down.
And he did threaten to go up there and take
and he tried to.
So what? And while we're talking about, what is the exact name of this? You're calling it a school
and toddler center.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So my question is, I don't mind putting Mike on any of the paperwork. That's not a problem. I wanted to wait until we got here to do that. Just so I know that he's not going to be pulling him out of school.
Guys, your parenting time schedule is your schedule. Pulling a child out of school on a day that's not yours is a violation of your parenting time schedule. So you can't just pull children out of school.
He thought he was going to be taking.
Okay, so stop. I let guys take a pause because you guys have things you want to talk about and where I want to go. But I have a place where I'm starting out to get a feel and a foundation. So, ma'am, let me ask this: have you directed them to not give him any information and not put him on any contact list or anything of that nature?
No, I told Mike that I was putting him in the school, which he asked me to put him in school a year ago early. So I did. He was on a waiting list. Then he got mad at the location of the school. So while he was yelling at me and blowing up the Family Wizard app, going off on me over this, I read at one point he said that he filed a motion. So I figured we just talk about it when we get here, as in like today.
Okay. And you're not asking, and you're not asking for him to contribute towards that cost?
I would like him to. I asked him to, and he basically told me no.
And do you work, if your child was not in childcare, where would your child be if you weren't using Assumption childcare?
He would be with me or with family, but like I said, I'm trying to get him used to socializing with other kids right now because he's going to be in 4 days of school next year. I'm not working right now. I'm not working right now.
Okay. So you guys just not get into the reads or if you're not working, don't need it for work, then you got an issue of whether you have to pay for it or not, because we don't charge for childcare for socialization, even though I agree with it. Childcare is for school or educational purposes. So if you're at home and can provide childcare and you're choosing, then it is your cost.
No, I've been jobless for literally just like the last 2 weeks. I got a dispute with my brother that I work for, so I'm looking for it.
Well, if you go back to work and it becomes legitimately both socialization and childcare, then you can bring a motion to contribute towards it. So go ahead, Mr. Price. Go ahead.
One of the problems with this whole scenario is that my client has not directed the school not to put him on any list. My client, because of the threat that he was going to come up there and take that child from that school, she just didn't acquiesce. She wanted to wait till this hearing was held. The plaintiff is under the mistaken assumption that he's going to get parenting time after the child gets out of school at 11:30 or nursery preschool, because he wants to interpret that as being like first grade instead of what it is, which is kind of a glorified daycare. That's what this.
Does the judgment have a different parenting time schedule once first grade or kindergarten happens?
The judgment does state that he picks the child up at 6 p.m. on his day, or after school. And he's trying to make that like it's first grade, so it's after school.
Is that every day after school?
No,
No,
just
just on
Wednesday.
his parenting time days.
Oh, so he transitions to the 16th circuit every other weekend and one night a week for dinner, right? Am I wrong? Looking at your judgment.
It's a little bit different, but it does say, so there was never an awarded custody. We sat down and we had a facilitation, and at facilitation, it was discussed that I would be picking him up after school as soon as he starts school. Assumption, under my interpretation of this, is Assumption Nursery School. He has started Assumption Nursery School. I should be picking him up after school. I mean, that's what I'm reading. And why, like,
where are you reading that?
So
what order are you referring to?
It's going to be under in our JOD. It's going to be under phase.
So guys, I'm looking under your judgment, and I'm looking at page 6. It says, upon the minor child reaching 18 months, absent a court order to the contrary, it shall transition to the 16th Judicial Circuit Family Division General Parenting Time Schedule.
For the
holiday. And that's every other weekend, one night a week. No, that's for the whole schedule. I'm looking at transition. It says title transition, Macomb County General Parenting Time Schedule. It's on page 6 of your judgment. It says at 18 months, it's the 16th Circuit schedule. That's every other weekend, one night a week for dinner, specific holidays, and 3 weeks in the summer.
No, so I get him. We went on a phased where I can either do Monday or Tuesday for dinner, or I can combine them overnight and have them overnight on Wednesdays. Which I pick them up every
night.
But
you guys did a stepped up schedule, guys. How old is your child right now?
3.5.
Guys, it's the 16th Circuit schedule.
That's what we've been following, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Guys, on page 6 of your judgment, all of this stepped up schedule changes to the 16th Circuit General Schedule at 18 months. That's every other weekend, one night a week for dinner. So is there another order entered after October of 2021 that modified this in some way?
No, that's what we've been using, one night a week, every other weekend.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to.
So where, guys, stop. We're covered. You guys keep bouncing around. I'm trying to answer each of your questions. Where in it here does it say pick up from school rather than the 2 hours per the 16th Circuit schedule?
I'm going to try pulling it up.
I might have missed it. So I'm just looking for you guys to tell me where to look.
With my motion, it should be in there.
Well, I'm looking at the judgment that you hooked to your motion. That's what I'm looking at. Looking at the judgment.
It's going to be under phase 2 of the parenting plan.
Yeah, but phase 2 then transitions to the Macomb Circuit schedule at 18 months.
For holidays only, we have a different parenting plan. I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up.
No, guys, you phased out of phase 2 into 16th Circuit schedule.
So it's phase 2 parenting plan
Right.
starts August 27th of 2021 and continues thereafter until further ordered by the court. This is page 4.
But it says on page 6. I get it, but it says on page 6 of your judgment under transition Macomb County General Schedule, it says upon the minor child reaching 18 months, absent a court order to the contrary, Plan B shall transition to the 16th Judicial Circuit Court General Parenting Time Schedule on the first day following the child's 18 months. So it seems like there's what are you guys following?
So we've been following the phase 2, step 2 parenting plan. It says that on August 27th, 2021, it's continued till it's further ordered. We've been doing the Monday and Wednesday, which I've always just combined it to do the overnight on Wednesday. And it says directly in there, the parenting time shall commence after school, or if no school, then 6 p.m. So that's what.
Okay. All right. Ma'am, do you agree with that? Because you guys do have a conflict. I would say that's conflicting language between page 4 and 6, but you guys tell me what you think is right.
I don't think it's a question on what we've been going off of. That's what we've been doing. You can agree to that.
Well, that's what I'm asking you is, do you guys believe that this judgment's in error on page 6 because page 4 phases into page 6, but you're saying that instead of one night for dinner, you guys do 2?
No, he's only been doing
he's
only been doing one night. I'd like to add something. The issue of picking the child up early is not before the court. I was stating that the reason why my client did what she did and not voluntarily add him to that school as someone who could come into that was because he threatened to come in there and take the child. In fact, he tried to. Just while the school called the police on him. He then came over to my client's house, sat outside, tried to intimidate her until the police were called. Okay. I mean, that's just part and parcel.
All right. So let me ask this. So, ma'am, did you tell the school he had threatened to come and take the child?
No, the school called me and told me that he was outside trying to get him out of there.
It wasn't about.
So were you trying? Okay, so sir, were you trying to remove your child from the school? Guys, it's nursery. It's nursery school again. It's not school.
The allegations they're making are completely false. I have video evidence with me right now of me discussing this with the police officers, explaining that I was trying to get put on the paperwork because my custody agreement says that I'm supposed to be picking him up after school.
All right.
I did try to check him out when I was there, but it was to take pictures. I was not intending on taking him home. I clearly tell the police in the video that I have no problem with him staying there.
Well, was there a misunderstanding with the nursery school staff of what you meant when you said check out? I'm not talking the cops. I'm talking the staff. Who is Josie, by the way? Who's Josie?
She's one of the directors.
So she's saying that Josie had the misunderstanding that you were going to take your child, and it freaked her out. Pardon my French.
And
not saying there was a misunderstanding.
My behavior, all these comments that they're making about my behavior, about being out of line and screaming and yelling.
Okay, so guys, we can go in circles, but I'm going to clarify this with this order. You have a right to go up to the school. Guys, I say this to everybody. I just had the same situation this morning on a case. Schools are not used to parents bopping up there at inordinate times randomly throughout the day. If it's a school that permits parenting time at lunch, and that's a school that allows it, more power to you. But if you're bopping up to school at weird times, they're not used to that. They're not used to the non-custodial parent just showing up, and you open yourself to misunderstanding. Now, I get if it's the first day, and this snowballed into a mess. On the first day, did you let Miss Pasalacqua know you're going to show up to take pictures with your child at the school?
Yes. So I sent her a message over to our family wizard, and I said, can you please notify me when you guys get there? Me and my girlfriend showed up. We sat on the side street waiting for for them to message me, and so we can go up there and take pictures. I specifically told her I wanted to take pictures. It was at about 8:25. There was about 5 minutes before school started when I decided to get out of the car and go up there and see what was going on. I talked to them, and they're like, he's already been checked in. I said, all right, well, It's the first day. Can I take a picture with him? And they said, you're not on the paperwork to check him out. And I said, all right, well, can you get me on the paperwork? And she said, all right, well, I need to contact Claudia. In the police body cam footage that I have, the police officers state there was no issue going on, that they were called preemptively to prevent any issues from occurring. So all this stuff of that there was issues that I'm trying to check him out, it's all false. It never happened.
Okay. All right. But they said he's already checked in. He's in the classroom. He's young. You're going to be pulling him back out, taking pictures. And then we usually don't do that. In between the lines is what they're saying, right?
They said that.
So guys, it snowballed guys into a mess that we're going to clarify with this order. Let me ask this. Why do you guys have so much trouble communicating with each other? I don't need a big, long histrionics of your case, but why is it so bad between the two of you that you can't communicate well? I'll ask you and then I'll ask her.
All right. So
go ahead, ma'am. Okay. I'll let her, she started, so I'll let her go first. Guys, I don't care who goes first. So ma'am, tell me what your take is on what this dynamic is and how we get from trying to take pictures to this big snowballed mess at the nursery school.
I don't know. It's been a mess since I left him 4 years ago, and I haven't been able to escape this, so I don't know. I try not to talk to him very much because it turns into an argument, and anytime I have to ask him something, it blows up. So I don't know.
And sir, what's your take on the dynamic between the two of you with communication?
So as far as the communication goes, every time we come to some sort of thing that we disagree with, every time I present a view that's different from hers, it's instantly harassment. You're harassing me because you have different views. I don't mean to intend to, it's just we can't communicate appropriately. I'm trying to work with her and I try to voice my opinions, but every time I try or say anything that's opposing to her, she does not have it. She does not want to hear my opinions. She does not want me to be involved.
But so you guys have a specific schedule. So other than parenting time, what are the decisions that you feel she's not agreeing or responding to? You guys shouldn't have to talk that often about decisions other than childcare, doctors, extracurricular activities when your child's older. What are the things that you don't feel you're getting response from her on?
So, and quite honestly, it's been going very well. We don't communicate, like we've maybe had probably 3 conversations in the past year that have went fine. So our family wizard of just basically this situation, I think it's been going perfectly fine for over a year. Except this.
Okay.
So as far as the communication goes, for her to start like wiling up that I'm harassing her and everything like that, that's not going on.
When's the last time she used the word harassment when talking to you?
Just this past couple of weeks, and I've attached the messages to this motion to show that this is how I'm responding, and somehow she's interpreting this as harassment. I don't mean it, and I tell her that,
So let me ask this, if you ask her a question and she disagrees, do you let it drop and say, I'll go to court, or do you keep asking the question over and over?
So in this specific situation, I asked her, we had a disagreement. She ends it immediately and just says, talk to my lawyer. So I'm forced to have these communications with her lawyer, which I don't ever get anywhere because I'm trying to co-parent with her lawyer.
Okay, well, okay. So Mr. Price, anything else you want to add to this?
Her lawyer wants to speak. Her lawyer wants to speak now.
All right, I'm listening.
Mr. Wisnat began harassing my client by surreptitiously taking video of them having sex and then throwing it out on the internet.
How long ago was that?
2-3 years ago.
That was litigated.
Okay, so there's
began.
so there's long
I'm just saying, I'm giving you the history. I'm giving you the history.
All right, I'm listening.
All right. Since that time, he's reported to CPS, had to put on the state's list that they automatically took her off.
That's why I ignore him, by the way. It's from him threatening me with CPS
Okay.
and telling me all this.
Okay, I suggest you let counsel make his argument.
Recently, and he admitted to this in his pleading on this motion, he decided to file a police report with the sheriff's department based on things that I've submitted to the court against my client. I mean, this is the kind of harassment she's getting. He sent me no less than 5 emails every day since last week, Monday.
This is all false.
And he sent the same amount to her. In fact, I was out of the office Friday. I came into my office this morning, looked at my emails, and about 1/3 of them were from him, all on the same issue. If he doesn't get his way, he tries to browbeat you, bully you. He does it with everybody, including me. I just cut him off. Period. I won't respond. That's what's making him angry. That's what makes him angry when my client just cuts him off. Talks to my lawyer, she says. I'm tired of this stuff. He threatened to go up and get that child from that preschool.
And the school called me to show up back there, by the way.
And then
they begged me to come up there because they didn't know what to do.
Correct.
With the way that he was acting.
And then
I wasn't there. I don't know what he was doing out there.
When he was told to leave there by the police, then he went over to her home, sat outside for a couple of hours until the police came. And again, had to tell him to leave. This is why there's no communication between these two people. Mr. Wisnat, if he doesn't get his way, that's what he does. Period.
All right. And Mr. Wisnat, your response, I'll give you one last say, and then guys, I'm going to make my decision on everything.
They're lying to you directly to your face, and in perjury. They're lying to you.
I don't. Okay. So let me make a point. At some point, generally everybody's not totally wrong. Unless you're a total liar, manipulative, also awful person, there's generally truth to what both sides are saying. A lot of what presents to this court is perception. And if there tends to be what's being perceived as misunderstandings with lots of people, at some point you got to take a step back and go, why am I always on the receiving of what's being called misinterpretation? So, somehow cops end up at the school. Somehow I have an attorney saying that he's getting contacted multiple times. At some point you have to be introspective enough to go, maybe I got to change my take on how I communicate, because it's not being perceived how I intend it. I don't want to be threatening. I don't want people to think I'm being argumentative. I don't want people to misunderstand and think I'm going to take a child out of things. Sometimes you got to reevaluate your form of communication and how you're trying to get your point across. Because if you're getting misunderstood by more than one person, you got to address how you communicate. And I think there's a lot of miscommunication here, and I think there's a lot of desire to have responses in a dialogue over things that necessarily above and beyond what the court expects you guys to have to talk about. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, you can't ask them 10 times or 20 times or 30 times. Then you take action and come to court, because I can easily solve some of these things. I can't solve you guys not liking each other, how you communicate. At some point that might affect your custody and parenting time order. But as far as records and stuff, before you get into it and get into a match where the first day of school, I got cops at a school with other parents there and children, and it's not really a school again, it's a nursery. Guys school, they say nursery school, it's a child care center. That's what you don't want to have happen. So if that's happening, at some point, you got to, even if it happens and you say, I don't deserve it, you got to step back and say, I got to disengage. Something's been said. I got cops up here. I'm going to disengage and let this go. And then I'm going to bring this to the court's attention, and we're going to talk about it there, rather than in front of a bunch of school with a bunch of kids coming to childcare and a bunch of parents staring at you who can then misinterpret it all different ways. You disengage and you say, we're going to take it up with the court instead of having this big debate. Go ahead.
So I don't have a problem with that. I deal with probably 10 to 15 clients on a daily basis. My communication skills are very good. I close deals. My communication skills are good. And I don't have a problem taking it to court. The problem is when I try to bring these issues to court, I'm instantly attacked by them by saying, you're just trying to run up lawyer bills and you're being harassing by taking us to court. So it's like a catch-22. It's like, I can't talk to you about it because you're saying I'm being harassing. If I take it to court.
Sir, at no time did I use the word harass.
No,
They said you're harassing and I asked them to define it, but I never said that.
I'm talking about.
I never said that. Well, Mr. Price represents her, so he's a zealous rep. And if you had an attorney to represent you, when you hear Mr. Price, you're basically, it's Ms. Pasalacqua. He speaks for her. It's not him, it's her. So his position is her position.
Exactly.
So okay, I just want to make clear, it's not Mr. Price playing puppet master. He represents his clients. So your problem is with Ms. Pasalacqua, not with Mr. Price.
I don't have a problem with anybody. I need clarification. If they want to handle this in court and they tell me go ahead and file it in court, then they shouldn't be of being harassing by taking it to court. You get what I'm saying? They're saying that I'm running the lawyer bills up, that I'm doing this on purpose, that I'm taking her to court.
Okay, they didn't say that to me. So
in the response, they said it in the response within our communication.
All right. So guys, I'm going to make my recommendation.
Your indulgence. We would ask for $1,500 in attorney fees and costs for responding to the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So I'm going to indicate that one is joint legal custodians. Both parties shall have access to school records, medical records, and any information related to the minor child. And it shall be included as an emergency contact at the minor child's childcare. I'm going to say this: while the parties refer to it as school, the minor child is 3.5 years of age. And he goes 3 days a week, ma'am, is that correct? As it is a childcare center and not school, defined as school under the law. Plaintiff's request to change the childcare center is denied. Defendant reported that she is using the childcare center for socialization and is currently not using it for employment. Therefore, she is responsible for the cost. Should defendant obtain employment in the future, necessitating childcare, she may bring a motion before the court regarding the same. Ma'am, you will facilitate with the school that you guys have been in court and whatever fears you've had have now been alleviated. You guys can give the school a copy of this order. Is everybody on board that they'll both talk to the school and say, Dad can now appear, this got out of hand? Are we all good? Everybody's going to cooperate in talking to the nursery school?
What would he be appearing there for, though?
No support.
Well, I expect everyone to be reasonable with, I don't know what the rules are there. So I'm just going to indicate, and what are we on? I'm sorry, which number again are we on? Parties should not be appearing randomly at the minor child's childcare absent a legitimate reason, i.e. doctor's appointment, family emergency, etc. Unless the school allows for contact during the day with parents. So guys, I don't know the rules of the school. Are they a school that lets you come and grab lunch with your child? Is that really unusual because they have a lockdown campus and they don't want people bouncing in and out?
Yeah, it's only 3 hours. 8:38.
Okay, so okay, yeah, there shouldn't be a problem then. Yeah, so no one absent this showing up for pictures, guys. You guys shouldn't be showing up in the middle of the 3 hours absent those things I said. Emergencies, family emergencies, and guys, you are limited to your parenting time schedule. So your parenting time schedule is your parenting time schedule. I'm going to put in here, both parties are as jointly may attend any extracurriculars, school functions, religious functions, etc., that the child may be participating in. Does that make sense, guys? If your child's an extracurricular in plays and whatever your child participates in, you guys both have a right to be there. Do you guys have any questions regarding that?
No. Can we receive some kind of clarification if I'm allowed to be picking him up and starting my parenting time? I think that would be in his best interest.
It's why do you want to? What time does your parenting time usually start?
6 p.m. But I'm more than willing to make the drive to pick him up.
What do you do for work? What's your work schedule? You're able to drive during the work week and pick up early?
I own my own business and I can schedule around it. My son comes first in my life. If I'm allowed to be able to pick him up at 11:30 and get those couple extra hours, there will be nothing that stops me from being there for him. I think it would give me.
Ma'am, but she's picking up and he's going back home with his mom.
Yeah.
She's doing this for socialization. I'm going to indicate, this is what I'll indicate. Should defendant obtain employment that necessitates childcare above and beyond the nursery school, plaintiff may pick up from childcare. However, if defendant's employment allows her to pick up the minor child from childcare, your parenting time starts at 6. Does that make sense, guys, the point I'm making? So ma'am, if you're at work and you're going to have a third party pick up from childcare instead of you, he might as well do it. If not, and you don't need a third party to do it, then it's 6 o'clock. Does that make
Yeah,
sense, guys, or is that
I've been
too
doing
confusing?
like DoorDash, so I like work when like I can, basically.
I think it makes more sense just to
Like
leave it the way it is.
I am working, but like I'm just not.
All right,
working
so guys,
where I want.
okay. And how far is it between your residences, guys?
Like 45 minutes,
And what time does your child currently go to childcare for socialization?
8:30 a.m.
All right, so guys, I'm going to change my recommendation, indicate that parent time exchanges during the week shall continue at 6 p.m. And guys, just so you know, when you ask for someone to be held in contempt, the court only has contempt powers if you get a private ex parte motion and order granted by the judge, setting it for a show cause hearing, granting the court contempt. You can file a motion for enforcement, but I don't have contempt powers. That's a legal issue, and you only have contempt powers if the other party is personally served based on an ex parte order and motion being filed and signed by the judge, setting it for a contempt hearing. Just so you know, this is not a contempt hearing. This is a motion for enforcement. I don't have the powers of monetary fines or incarceration at a motion for enforcement. It's not really a contempt hearing. And guys, you can research that. I can't give legal advice, but I just want to clarify that. All right, guys, that's the recommendation temporary order of this referee. You guys both have 21 days to object. Again, that is your right under the law. Add an objection here. The Honorable Terry Lynn Dennings will either uphold my order or change all or part of it, and her decision as the judge is the final say.